question for you guys. What do you do when you're a believer, but your marital partner is not? What do you do when their lack of faith becomes a stumbling block in the relationship? What do you do when their struggle in the faith becomes an open door for heartbreak? I'm just curious. I want to answer this question with you guys, and then we'll roll right into Ask Me Anything. So, welcome, 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 everybody. Go ahead and let me know where you're watching from, and let me know what time it is where you're watching from. I'm over here in Atlanta. It's 11:07 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you guys all over the world. Welcome. So, I was curious what you guys thought about this idea of being unequally yoked and being in a marriage that's unequally yoked. And then, even though you're in an unequally yoked marriage, I'm curious to know what you guys would do in the situation where your partner was struggling in the faith and also struggling to make righteous decisions in the marriage. And these little things began to end up in a position of breakup. That's the question I have for you guys. Again, let me know where you guys are watching from and let me know what time it is. You guys know what time it is. It's Ask Me Anything. It's your chance to ask me any question in the whole wide world. So, welcome everybody. Okay, so I'm just curious. You prefer the other live? I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry. Well, at least I'm here. But I wanted to know because actually, I was watching. I was watching a YouTube video, and it was a content creator that reposted a video of a woman and then the reaction to the woman's marriage. So I don't know if you've ever seen this one, but it's a woman that had been married. She was in her first year of marriage. And during that first year of marriage, she was professing her Christianity, and she finally got pregnant. Everything looked good for a minute. And then the husband started getting like inbound direct messages over social media to work with him, like for the purposes of actual professional work. And so the wife went to him and she's like, I don't know about this. I have a bad feeling. I got a bad feeling about this woman and the situation. And so he went on and he went ahead and he had the meeting. He took the meeting. And as things started to move forward, it started to get more sticky. And she went back to him. She's like, I really don't feel comfortable with this relationship that you have with this coworker. Something is really off. I feel like right now you're sinning against me. And then furthermore, I feel like if you don't cut this off, I feel like you're going to sin against me more. This is what she said. And she was so upset. She ended up at 20 weeks pregnant. She ended up getting up, leaving the house and leaving. And during that time she left, the husband went forward and actually cheated on her with that actual coworker. So I was curious what you guys thought about it, because the end of her story is she took him back and she went back to him on the grounds of, Jesus forgave me, I'm going to forgive him. So she reconciled back with her husband. And then social media showed up. All the TikTokers showed up and they drug her in the comments. They drug her. People started like doing videos against her and dragging her, saying like, I can't believe you took him back, et cetera, et cetera. So I was curious. I wanted to start off today's Ask Me Anything with that storyline. And I wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were when an unbeliever was married to a believer, and then when the unbeliever struggled with their faith and they cheated, the believer took them back. Do you guys think there's anything wrong with that? I mean, I'm curious how you guys feel about it. Let me know where you guys are watching from, and let me know what time it is where you're watching. This is Atlanta. It's 11:11 p.m. Eastern Time. So I would love to know where you guys are watching me from. Let's go. Let's see. Hello, hello. Oh, I see Wisconsin's in the house. I see England's in the house, 4 a.m. Wow, 4 a.m., Jay. Thank you for joining. Hey, Graham, Wisco's in the house. I see George is in the house. Alan, hey, welcome. Let's see who else is in here. Let's see. Hello, hello, Greg. Welcome, everybody. So, guys, we're doing Ask Me Anything. I wanted to start off with my first question being on unequally yoked marriages where there's infidelity. How do you guys feel about post infidelity reconciliation? What do you guys think about that? Let me know. Let me know. Um, Let me know where you guys are watching from and let me know what time it is. If you guys have other questions, go ahead and start flooding the chat with your questions. This is your chance to ask me anything. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button in the stream. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe, turn on your notifications. I see Miami's in the house. Hi, Tip. Welcome. Let's see. I see Washington's in the house. Hello, Cowboy. Welcome. 11:14 p.m. Hey, Pa. Welcome. Let's see who else. Houston, Texas. Kate P's in the house. Let's go. Hello, Texans. Let's see. Let's see who else is in here. Yeah, so we were just talking about unequally yoked marriages. India's in the house. Let's go, India. Um, we were just talking about unequally yoked marriages where there's infidelity. Husband ended up cheating on the wife, and the wife was 20 weeks pregnant, and she decided to go back to him. I'm curious how you guys feel about reconciliation after infidelity. Is it an absolute no? I mean, in the comments, people were dragging her saying absolutely no, it should be a never. So I'm just curious what you guys think about it. Um, Somebody asked Tupac or Biggie. Neither. Neither. You gotta grow out of like, the thug boys. You gotta grow out of that. They bring trouble. I see Germany's in the house. Welcome, Bastian. Welcome. Let's see. What are my thoughts on what, Jay? I missed the first question. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Buenos dias. Buenos dias, electronics. Welcome. We're doing Ask Me Anything. It's your chance to ask me anything in the whole wide world. Someone says infidelity means dead on arrival. Both should move on. Ouch. That was very clear. Someone else says that's tough. When marriage vows are broken and infidelity occurs, there will be trust issues. Ouch. This is true. Um, Question on so somebody says physique one or two, dad bob or somebody who's all muscular. Somebody who's all muscular. Who would give that away? Let's see. All right, someone commented my mom cheated on my dad and she justified it with BS excuse that she was involved in a domestic violence situation with my dad. And then she said it was a mistake that she didn't, it didn't finish, but I get what you're saying. Oh, she said it was a mistake that she didn't get divorced from him. That was her choice, not a mistake. Ooh, so I see. So when feeling like infidelity is not a mistake, it's not an accident. That's actually what one of the people who saw the video and did a commentary on it. They said it's not a mistake. That's what the person said, and they said it was unforgivable. I thought well, that's also interesting. That's an interesting take. Not a very Christian take, but okay. Let's see. Uh-oh, someone says work boyfriends and work girlfriends are always around. See, this is a different scenario though. This scenario, this wasn't even like a regular coworker. This was like imagine me all by myself, just on my, at home, and then up on like the LinkedIn, someone direct messages me and they're offering me like a contracted work or some per hour type of contractual work. And then I decide to take that offer and I'm doing that work with that one individual who probably is very attractive. And then I've got a husband at home, right? So imagine husband tells me, hey, I don't want you doing that particular job. That guy, he looks sneaky. I don't like him. I don't like it. And then I'm like, oh, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. And I continue to pursue that unnecessary work. So this is not even the regular job. This is a person who infiltrated the whole entire marriage through a social media DM, with the premise of like, oh, I want to work with you. I want to work with you for blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. And then it turned into a marital affair after the wife warned multiple times. So yeah, this was not like a regular in office situation. I almost would say it was a purposeful attack. That's what I'm gonna almost say because I mean, judging on my DMs, which I no longer even check them anymore, you guys should see the kind of stuff that goes on in the direct messages. It's crazy stuff in there. So yeah, I don't even check them anymore, so I don't have that problem. But he was still checking his, and basically the wife said when she left the house after being so frustrated because he wasn't listening to reason. 20 weeks pregnant, she got all upset and she left the house with the clothes on her back. And during the time that she left, he cheated. He actually did the cheating, the full cheating. The whole thing was actually cheating, but that's when he actually did it. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about infidelity and reconciliation. Is it a yay? Is it a nay? I'm curious about that. I'm also curious about y'all's take on unequally yoked marriages because in this case, it's the woman who was, honoring God in trying to, protect the marriage. She was doing those protection measures and trying to hedge up the marriage, but some kind of way it didn't all come together because he wasn't doing the same. So while I didn't have the information on his faith level, from what I could see, he wasn't in that surrendered life mindset. From what I could see, he wasn't being led by God. That's just from what I could see outside looking in. There's probably much more of the story than I would ever know. But let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Let's see. Down is in the house. Welcome. Let's see. What do I think about transgenders? What do you mean? What do I think about them? Ask a more specific question. What do I think about what about them? Ask a really specific question because really everybody has a heartbeat and exists. But what specifically is your question? Is it churchy related, Bible related? What is it? What specifically is it about? And then I'm happy to answer your question. Hello, Masha. Oh my gosh, you're in Serbia. Awesome. Hope you have an amazing day and remember that you're loved and amazing every day. Oh, you're so sweet, Masha. I love you. You're so sweet. Let's see. Let's see. Where is the Okay, I want a specific question. If you guys are going to ask about like trans and things like that, you got to ask a specific question because if you say what do I think about transgenders, like that's not actually a specific question. What do I think about what aspect blank aspect of? Give me an aspect of because I need more. Oh yeah, I agree with you, Masha. They do spread some hate here and there. Brazil's in the house. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. If somebody said if a person was so like into the marriage, they wouldn't have even responded to the DMs. I think that's a good point. Oh, thank you. Perspective. That's a cool name. I like how you spell that. Uni perspective one. That's cool. Um, Hello over there in Chicago, California, by way of Chicago, Jose. Welcome. All right, I'm looking at your questions. If you guys have a question, be sure to pop it in the chats. It's your chance. I'm looking through the questions. Somebody said, let's be real, my mom did the damage and didn't give an apology to me or my three sisters for it all, but my brother's dad, who isn't my dad sometime, dumped her. So that's basically her bad. Oh, wow. So it didn't end the way she hoped it would end. See, that's the risk. That's the risk when you step out and you go a different direction. Sometimes it doesn't end the way you hope that it would end. But I'm sorry that you had to go through that because I'm pretty sure that's pretty traumatic for kids. When you think about it, your home is supposed to be your safe place. And as soon as you get out there and, have to experience all this negativity inside of your house, then when you come home, a lot of times you have to face that stress. So it's complicated. On top of like different people coming in and out of your life, it's just super, super difficult. If you answered a DM to a man you think is attractive, that's all that needs to be known. Oh, ooh, see? But is it the same case if it's a man doing that? Because in this case, it was the man who received the DM for work related purposes only. But then it turned into an infidelity situation. But would you feel that way if it was opposite gender? Canada's in the house. Hi, Junaid. Welcome. Oh, thank you for your support shirt. Thank you, thank you. And you're welcome here. Somebody said absolutely no resurrection of the relationship after cheating. That is the one and only thing of a relationship that is sacred. Period. Oof. Somebody's got like digging their nails in on this one. I see. I see. For those of you guys on the other platform, we're on YouTube right now. We're taking questions on YouTube. It's Victory Life Podcast 7603 on YouTube. Victory Life Podcast 7603 on YouTube. That's where you can come join us for doing Ask Me Anything. Someone said, "Should I quit my job and move to a cabin in the mountains, or work forever and live in this apartment?" Wow. I mean, the question for you in the mountains is, do you have like good survival instinct in the mountains? Do you have enough cash to like make sure that you're fed and warm? Because when you think about it, as a person grows older, they need access to resources and healthcare systems and, physicians and all these different things. So, if you go out to the mountains, the one thing I would say is you want to make sure that you're ready, that you're a bit rugged, that you know how to like live off the land kind of rugged. And I know not everybody really is built for that, but I wanted to throw it out there that that can be really useful. If you're like a person who knows how to plant your food and harvest your own food, and if you're a person who knows how to like, draw your own fire, purify water, if you have good survival instincts, heck, I'm all about you quitting your job. But like I think it all comes down to, do you have survival? Do you have a plan to it's a lifelong plan? And if it doesn't go the way you hope, can you navigate coming back into it getting back to the real world again? It kind of comes down to all that. Are you going to be able to integrate back into the real world again? Is your job the kind of job that will let you integrate after a few years away? You kind of just want to plan that out. Because if you're out there for like, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and then you start getting older and then you start getting sickly, sometimes it's hard to either get to a hospital or even relocate back in the city. So it's always tough when you get older and you're in an isolated, secluded area that doesn't have good electricity, clean water, hospitals. It becomes kind of a crisis. So but it depends. If you're kind of the kind of person who likes to, if that's your goal, then if you can make it happen, go for it. Um, let's see. But my only hesitation is I'm thinking about what it would be like from a social perspective if you've got, either family or a loved one who would be able to get access to you easily, or, those kinds of things. I kind of wouldn't want you to be so isolated that you don't have internet or you don't have connection with the outside world. So I don't know what you mean by cabin in the mountains, because some cabins have electricity and some cabins are not that fancy. But I would agree, work boyfriends and girlfriends are always around. I mean, back at the hospital, we used to have a lot of that going on, and I actually didn't participate in work boyfriend and girlfriend. I didn't, but it was common. It was common. Like there would be someone who would bring food. Like, okay, so you guys know in nursing there would always be like a male nurse, right? Now, thankfully, we would like we would depend on him to help us like pick up our patients and move them and stuff. But some people would be getting a little bit too much with the male nurses and sometimes the doctor guys. So I didn't. I didn't, but I mean, I'll just leave that alone. They had some Grey's Anatomy style drama going on up in there. But if you guys are thinking about going into healthcare, I would really caution you with doing stuff like that, because I mean, I still remember till this day who was doing what. You know what I mean? It kind of is the kind of thing that follows you. So you don't want your business on the street like that. But to each their own. I would rather people get together. Oops. I didn't mean to delete I didn't mean to delete that message. And I can't fix it either. Oh well, I deleted a message by accident. I was just touching the phone and I touched it wrong. Um, like when, oh, let's see. All right, let's have a look, see here. What are you guys talking about? Someone asked the question, what qualifies in a potential man? I guess you're saying what qualities in a potential man do I look for? I'm not looking for a man, so that kind of solves the problem because I'm not looking for one. But I think someone who's spiritually mature is very important, like a surrendered life in Christ. I think if I had to like name one thing, obviously you have to be attracted to the person, otherwise there's no starting anything. If you're not attracted, then there's nothing. So you have to be attracted and they need to be spiritually in a position to lead me. If they're like I will describe the exact issue that I see with this woman the situation that I just saw. That's exactly the situation that I would like to avoid. The girl, super pretty girl, by the way, came on live and she talked about the fact that her husband stepped out on the marriage while she was 20 weeks pregnant. And they were only married, they were in their first year of marriage. So what does that tell you right there? Even if she's like a difficult bride, I mean, you have to remember, well, she is pregnant, so at least she was doing something intimate wise to kind of keep the marriage going. So obviously there wouldn't be a baby in there if she had done nothing. So we could check that department that something happened. And it had only been 20 weeks when he stepped out. So I'm sure a few months of that pregnancy, she was probably nauseated and struggling a lot. So that could have been a little problematic for their intimate life if she's sick all day, which happens commonly. When I think about what happened with her is exactly what I would like to avoid. It looks like she's, at that age where she wanted a husband, and so she went and got herself a husband. It looks like not only did she go do that, but it looks like she did that with a man who didn't live a surrendered life to Christ. What I've started to do is I've started to learn that when I say that I'm a Christian, people will automatically say that they're also Christian. So that becomes like the stepping stone into a big mess that they create. So they'll say that they're a Christian, but it's with their lips, it's not with their heart. So they live a regular worldly life and they don't live a surrendered life to Christ. So they may say, "Oh yeah, Jesus is my Lord and Savior." But when they walk out their Christian walk, they're not spiritually mature. They don't live a surrendered life to Christ. They're not acknowledging their flesh. Their struggle is, it's in such a way that, it's in such a way that, how do I describe? It's in such a way that I almost feel like because they don't have that surrendered life to Christ, they don't know where they're bringing you. They don't know what journey they're on. In whatever ups and downs they have, whatever struggles they have, you're going to be there to experience those struggles with them because they've not acknowledged their flesh and tried to work their way against it. So they're not trying to crucify their flesh, and they probably never have. Does that make sense? So we're talking about a person who doesn't live a surrendered life. In other words, they say they're a Christian with words, but their walk is not very strong. And so for me, that's not a good fit. So really the two big credentials are I got to be attracted, obviously. They have to honestly, they have to provide, they have to be a provider, obviously. And they need to live a surrendered life to Christ. They can't just be Christian because I've already tried that and it doesn't work. A Christian who lives worldly to me is the same as dating somebody who's an unbeliever. Actually, I think it's worse because it's hard to, they've been living that lifestyle. So it's hard to make those adjustments because they've normalized what God considers unrighteous. They've normalized it. Actually, unbelievers, often when you're living your life in a holy way, unbelievers are actually closer to seeing like the Christ-like behavior and understanding the value of it and then wanting to move towards something that's so holy and pure. Unbelievers can actually be often closer to it. So that's what I would say. I need to be attracted, because if I'm not attracted to them or they're not attracted to me, it will never start. It will never start. So obviously, if the person is walking past me or I'm walking past the person, if we don't turn each other's head, there's nothing there. Then they need to be a provider, because that's just the biblical standard that I'm not taking care of them, but they have something to offer. And then I think the last thing is living a surrendered life to Christ. If they don't live a surrendered life to Christ, the order of headship is going to be off. So the man's supposed to follow Christ, the woman's supposed to submit to the man. When that's not in the right order, look at what happens. The woman who was cheated on, that I just explained, for those of you guys who just walked in, my question of the day, as we walk into Ask Me Anything, my question was, how would you handle infidelity in an unequally yoked relationship? Like, what would you do with all that? And some people said reconcile. Some people said no. I see in this chat, it's a big fat no. She actually went back to her husband after she left for a little while because she was so upset by all of the behaviors leading up to the actual cheat. To me, the whole thing was a cheat, but the behaviors leading up to it became more and more egregious. She got upset and she left. And then, she forgave him and went back. But I think the risk here is what she went through, to me, is pretty much the idea of what I'm trying to avoid. So when he began to step out, it wasn't like an overnight infidelity situation. It was a slow, sneaky, but obvious situation. And someone hit him in the DM saying, hey, I want to work with you. And it wasn't his regular daytime job. It was some extra thing. He didn't have to do it. The wife encouraged him against it. She sensed something was going to be wrong with this one, and she was right. That relationship started to develop more. She went back to him again and said, hey, this is off. I don't feel right about it. I have bad vibes about it. I want you to get rid of this lady. I want you to get rid of her. Something is not right about this. And he would not do it. He kept pursuing that work-related scenario with that woman. And eventually he did cheat. But when you think about the why did he actually cheat? Part of this is, look at the relationship dynamics. She was sensing danger. You guys see that? So she was sensing danger. He wasn't sensing danger. She was trying to hedge up and protect the home from an unwanted entry. He should have been trying to protect the home from an unwanted entry. So, and then she's saying, hey, you've already started sinning against me. If you keep continuing on with her, you're going to sin more against me. And I was like, she's having to say and lead spiritually. This is what's wrong. And I'm not saying every unequally yoked relationship will do that. But the reality is, if that were a Christian man who started the same path and he lived a surrendered life to Christ, then even if he would have responded to the DM, he may have responded, but in the exchange, the Holy Spirit would have given him the unction of, nope, this one is trouble. The same unction that the woman had, he himself would have had that Holy Spirit conviction. And he would have said, you know what, I'm going to have to close the door on this. I myself have closed the door on all the DMs. I've closed the door on all of it, and I'm not even married because there's nothing good happening in the DMs. It's all bad. But do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, if he had the Holy Spirit, early on, he would have said to himself, this doesn't feel right. I'm feeling from God that I shouldn't continue to pursue this. He would have closed the door on it. Now, if he would have ignored that warning, he would have kept going. And eventually, when the wife came and said, hey, I'm worried, the Holy Spirit would again confirmed it, and he would have again been able to retract himself from that situation. if he would have been rebellious and kept going. If he lived a surrendered life, he may have continued to work with her, but when the door opened for them to meet like in person, he would have probably said, "Hey, I can't do that." He would have put the stop on it there, right? So even if he would have transgressed her like early on and he would have seen how much it affected her, the Holy Spirit in him would have said, "My wife is hurting over this and she's carrying my child. This is not good for my family." Ultimately, she and the baby are struggling because of my selfishness. So I need to stop right there. That's the issue. The issue was he didn't live a surrendered life. So he kept pushing the envelope because he's not used to crucifying his flesh. He's used to giving into his flesh in probably many different ways. So that's why I don't do it anymore. I used to date unbelievers. I used to date unequally. I don't do it anymore. Even if I sit at home on Saturday night, I don't mind because it's easier and safer to sit at home than to be entertaining different characters who don't have, who don't hear from God. If they don't hear from God, it's probably going to end badly. So yeah, my thought is when you go outside of that, when you open the door to it, like Christians fall into sin too. But along the way, there's so many checks and balances from the Holy Spirit. He would have had a check in his spirit that this isn't right. And if he's living a surrendered life and he's always been used to crucifying his flesh, it probably wouldn't have gone that far. Even if it did, he would have come running out with like conviction, and repented, automatically repented, and been trying to beg and get his wife back and all those things. So I think when you've got an unequally yoked situation, those things are more common, and that's the battlefield. The battlefield becomes you're trying to serve God, and Satan is dragging them. That becomes the battlefield. And I think what she could have done differently is not left the marital home and prayed for him. Every time he had a meeting, she could have just been going into fasting and prayer over that situation, that either God would reveal truths to him, that God would be drawing him, that, he'd be safe and protected out there. And I think she did a really big but unpopular thing by acknowledging that I'm pregnant with his baby. We're married. We're family. He was wrong, and Jesus forgives me for being wrong all the time. I'm going to forgive him. So, although it's an unpopular thing, biblically, she did what she was supposed to do biblically. Now, certainly, the Bible allows you to get divorced for infidelity. I mean, there's that. It allows you to, but Jesus already said that that wasn't the plan from the beginning, is that people would have divorces, that we should be able to fight through and pray and forgive and stay united. So I think she did a really noble thing by thinking about her whole family rather than just thinking about herself. And that takes a lot of guts. Certainly, saying it on the internet is not useful, but it's not useful to the marriage. But I suppose in all of the stress, she probably just needed to vent. Let's be honest, we're all human. Somebody said all nurses have their little doctor boyfriend. I don't have doctor boyfriends anymore. Like, I didn't have doctor boyfriends when I worked in the hospital. I only had doctor boyfriends after I stopped working in the hospital. So strange, right? I did not have doctor boyfriends when I was working in the hospital. I was also married when I was working in the hospital, but I didn't have doctor boyfriends until after I left. So, and after I was single. All right, let's see. Um, There's somebody says Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I love that verse. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. I love that one too. Yes, we do need to pray for Jamaica. I wonder how Jamaica's doing right now. Are people with like power? Do they have clean water? I'm curious how they're doing. Oh, I've got a question. This one is I'm in love and the girl is out of my league. Right now, I'm just trying to get in shape, get a motorcycle so I can have that cool biker lifestyle. I'm kind of scared of bikes, but I want her badly. Okay, that's two different things. I wonder, do you want the motorcycle because you just want the motorcycle, or do you want the motorcycle thinking it's gonna give you the right look and vibe to attract that girl? Because number one, I gotta tell you, disclaimer: motorcycles are dangerous. You know that, though. I don't have to tell you that motorcycles are dangerous. But I would say if you want a motorcycle to have a motorcycle, then have a motorcycle. But if you're trying to do the motorcycle, because I'm witnessing this a lot, even lately to me, guys doing the car thing. I'm observing that a lot lately. They're doing the car thing. They're doing the whole like, I'm gonna front with my car thing because my car helps me to be more cool. This is this is. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is so 20 years ago that guys are still doing that. They are still doing that. But yeah, I would say that if you're getting the motorcycle thinking you're going to impress her and get her, I think you're doing too much. Unless you got money like that. If you got money like that, go for it. But if this is like not income that you really have, I think that's risky altogether. Just to give the right style, you have to remember the way you get them is the way you're going to have to keep them. So if that's the thing that attracts her is your vibe, then that's not something that one can hold on to because vibes come and they go, right? So I would say this: if you like a girl and she's out of your league, firstly, don't assume she's out of your league because these out of the league girls, a lot of times they're not getting hit on that much because everybody assumes they're out of their league and then nobody hits on them. That happens. I like in Atlanta where I live in a big city. It's like my house is in a country town, but when I go out, it's big city vibes. It's very posh. All the actresses are out. So imagine like a little mini Hollywood here. So what does that do to me? It makes me very average here. Okay, just giving you the real talk. So when I go out and everybody's an actress and everything's super posh, and I mean, I can get posh too, but what I'm saying is, compared to the actresses, I become super average in the room, right? So, but I can still get attention in the room. Why is that? It's because I'm warm and friendly. And the girl who's like so perfect and like the 10, she might be a little stuck up and less approachable. So she may get fewer people approaching her. And whereas she might be prettier, but she's doesn't look very friendly, and so no one wants to get rejected and they don't approach her at all. So if you really think she's out of your league and you're thinking don't approach her, then you should still approach her because you don't know how much she gets hit on. She may not get hit on that much. But believe it or not, it may not happen that much. I hear that sometimes from women. Not all the time, but sometimes. But I actually think it's not so much their look. I think it's how they carry their energy. I think they're all closed off. I think that's what's doing it more than their beauty. I think their like closed off energy is what's actually harming them more. But yeah, if you're looking for that girl, I mean, don't wait forever. I think it's admirable that you want to be in shape, and I think it's interesting that you want to have a cool look. But I think the way you get her is the way you're gonna have to keep her. So if you're doing the get in shape and doing the motorcycle just for her, remember that's something that you're gonna have to maintain. You're gonna have to maintain all the like cool vibe stuff, and you have to maintain the whole body thing. So I almost think it's better for you to, if you want to get in shape, I think it's admirable. Just get in shape for you, be on that journey for yourself. If you want a motorcycle, I think motorcycles are happen to be cool too. Just get it for yourself. Don't get it thinking that it's gonna get her, because if you don't get her, you might be disappointed. And I wouldn't want you to be disappointed, but there's free will. So you can like someone and they may not like you back, and they may not like most people back. You know, if she's got a particular taste of men, then she may only want that type of guy. So, yeah, just I would say don't wait and wait and wait to hit on her. Just be very clear with her and don't be all like, let's be friends. Go right up to her, ask for her phone number, ask if you can take her out, and just say, hey, I think you're really pretty. I would love to exchange phone numbers, take you out for the purpose of romantic dating. Are you interested? You know, just go right into it. Use as few words as you need to. Keep it as short as possible and get it out there. And if she's like, "Oh no, I've got a boyfriend," or "No, I'm not interested." Okay, well, it was a pleasure meeting you, and move right on. Just move right on and go do that with the next person. It will get easier, and I know it's hard, but it will get easier. But, you know, put it out there. Don't wait around and don't dance around it, and don't take the friendship right route. Don't do that, because women like alpha males. We like guys in control of the things. So as soon as we see that you're like willing to shrink into like, oh, I'll just take the friendship, we're, then you actually, the vibe that you're trying to give, you lose that vibe. We want to see somebody who's like all in, invested, able, you know, like we want to see someone who's able to like run the show, because that's head of household vibes. If you can say, hey, I think you're pretty, I like you, I want your phone number, let's talk. Can we date? Like that gives her that thing that you're confident. So rather than working on getting the motorcycle, I would say continue to do your fitness, because fitness is always important for your health, even if there's no one in your life. And be confident, even if you're not feeling confident. Practice confidence. Practice confidence until you actually are confident. That confidence and being direct goes a long way, to the point where even if she's on the fence, if you're really direct, it still goes a long way. So if she's like, oh, I don't know about dating, but can we just be friends? Then no, I'm not interested in having friends. I really would like to date you. I'm interested in you romantically. If you're not, it's okay. And then you just move on, you know, but be nice about it, even in the exit, and respectful. But, you know, that's how I would approach it. I would say get right to the point. Get right to the point. Um, let's see. I'm looking for the next question. Somebody asked me, "What's my background?" What do you mean? What's my background? I'm a registered nurse. I have a business degree. I have a seminary degree, and I'm a doctor of healthcare administration. If you wanted to know my race, I'm black. I don't know which one you were asking. I'm sorry. Let's see. Oh, someone says, I believe everyone needs another chance. But if it happens again, you know what to do. Most people don't admit they cheat until they get caught. This is true. I actually like that approach, KP, better than most of the statements I've seen in the chat. I would say it's what I didn't get out of listening to the conversation. I didn't understand if she reconciled back with her husband because she's pregnant and obviously she needs a father for her baby. And ideally, it'd be best to have the father in the house with the baby. I don't know if she did it for that reason or if she reconciled with him because he repented of his sins. That is the difference, my friends. I don't know if he repented. I don't know if he was sorry because he was really rejecting the idea of falling out of agreement with the moving forward with that other woman. It was a struggle for him to get away from that woman. And that other woman has been still since the incident, that other woman had been trying to like, I don't know, she's been out there talking and running her mouth a lot and trying kind of like trying to get him back and stuff. So that that's pretty weird too. Somebody said my dad divorced my mom when I was 20. Oh my goodness. It's all divorce is always hard, even if you're even if you're an adult. You know, if your parents divorced and you're 3, it's bad. If your parents divorced and you're 20, it's difficult. It's still difficult because, at 20, you're looking forward to like marriage and you're looking forward to like having both your parents at all your major life events. And when that breakup happens, everything gets awkward. How do you seat them at the table? And, then somebody's got a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend and a husband and a wife. And it is so much more difficult than people really make it out to be, especially when you're like the innocent bystander and you're in between like two fiery darts coming at you. It's crazy. Is America declining? Sadly, I'm going to say yes. Sadly, I'm going to say yes. I say that sadly, but I don't know where things are good slash better. I will also caveat it. It brings me no joy to say I feel like America is declining, but I do think America is declining. I still think it's a great place to be, and it's still the place I prefer to be. So I also say that, but I think America is declining. I think when I think about the fact that like I have a home and I think about the fact that my parents have a home, and then you wonder like for the next generation, are they going to have a home? That I'm hearing more and more that student loan debt is toppling people over, that I don't know. I'm hearing that apartments are all, houses are, the housing market's being eaten up by big business. And then like the same houses are getting rented out to people. So people are basically getting, being eaten out of the housing market. And if a person's got like a lot of debt, I don't know how they get into a house. I just don't know how they do it. So that was always kind of the American dream is, you know, couple of kids, marital partner, a white picket fence for a house. And I don't know, it looks like that part of the dream is slowly disappearing. So when I see that disappearing, I have to wonder. I have to wonder about everything else because young people are saying more and more and more that they're feeling locked out of society. And like, whereas I moved out on my own when I was really young, I mean, I can remember how much stuff cost too. It wasn't that expensive. Like, it wasn't that expensive to have a car, like to get a used car and to get insurance. It wasn't that bad. Now, like a car will cost almost $1,000 a month. Like that's crazy. That's a brand new luxury car price. So used car costing $500 plus a month, I don't even understand. Insurance rates costing so much money, I don't even understand. So those things, these are basic things. You know, when egg prices are high, I know everybody was making fun like, oh, but that's a sign that people are literally getting locked out of society. So when I see the price of food is so high, when I see the price of a used car is so high that you might as well buy a new one, we need a place in society where a person who can't afford a brand new car can get a strong discount on an older model. These things are basic things. You know, being able to get into an apartment, like that used to be you can get an apartment for 500 or $1,000. You know, decent apartments now cost, you know, $1,000 to $2,000. You know, that's just what it costs. So at the same time, I will say this. I will say the level of discipline around money is atrocious. I will also say that. So I noticed, this is what I noticed, and this is what worries me about young people. When I was young and I didn't have any money to do anything, I stayed put. I literally didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere. I was like, oh, I don't have the money. I'm going to stay put. And like, if I need to stay put for like 6 months, then that's what I did. But I see this different new trend where when people don't have money, they still go anyway. And then they financially run out of money and they're either depending on someone else in the middle of a trip. They're doing a lot of that nowadays where they don't want to say, I don't want to have the experience. I'm not going to have the experience. They go try to have these experiences that they can't afford sometimes. That's kind of concerning because that tells me more about the picture of how they manage money. So, on top of all these critical issues that are horrible, I also see those things where people are still trying to enjoy the life as if the money is flowing, but the money actually isn't flowing. And then they end up out of town needing something and they either are depending on friends to get them home or they're calling back family to try to get money wired so they can get home. So like when I was growing up, if you don't have the money, you just don't go on vacation. You just don't go on the trip. You don't go to the event. You literally don't date. You just stay home. If you don't have the money, you just don't. And then when you finally get the money, then you can try, you know? Yeah, there's that. And then when I look at the price of food and then I look at takeout, obviously it's still cheaper to go to the grocery store, but I see a lot of young people get takeout like every day kind of thing. That's extremely expensive. Like even if you're getting takeout and it's like, oh, but it's only 10, $15 and I only give a $2 tip, that's basically like a $20 spend. So $20 spend regularly is actually a good way to blow through a lot of money because you don't feel it when you spend $20 every 5 minutes. You don't think you're spending a lot. So you psychologically allow yourself to do it. But if you do it frequently, that's like $100 gone and then another $100 gone. That becomes real money. So so there I think there are some financial management concerns, but broadly, salaries have not kept up with inflation. You know, salaries have not kept up with the price of homes. You know, the price of insurance, the price of cars, the price of used cars, all those things are way too high. And they were not that high when I was younger. They were not that high. So I don't know how any of them ever make it to be able to like move out. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess I'm just blessed because the timing, everything happened at a time where, I mean, I struggled to get this house, but it happened at a time where it was easier to get a house, and it was before the mortgage crisis. So you could get a house and get it 100% financed, and that was like the norm. Now people went like 20% down again. And I'll even add in New York City, they went more than that because they've got all these other special rules that basically keep you locked out of housing. So it's crazy. For those reasons, I say America's on decline. So I want to qualify it by saying I love America. I'm an America First girl. I love America and I'm America First. I don't have a desire to live anywhere else right now at all. I still think we have a beautiful free country. I almost had on my USA. I should have worn my USA shirt today now, guys. I had a USA shirt that I was going to wear today, but then I was like, nah. I should have worn that shirt today now. But it's actually pretty sad. I think it's pretty sad when a young person's thinking about their student loan debt and they're like, this debt is so crippling, I need to move home. That I didn't really take that seriously initially. I thought everybody was more or less whining and crying initially, but then I've had a chance to dig a bit deeper. I've actually learned more about what's going on with that, and the interest rates on their student loan are way higher than they were when I got my student loans back in the day. They're way higher. Their student loan interest 15 to 20% easy. And my student loan interest was like 3 or 5%. So basically, we could take our student loans and drag it out over a lifetime, and that's fine. That's what people did. Well, if they take their student loans and they try to let them drag out over a lifetime so that they can afford a house or a car or this or to get married, guess what? That thing is just multiplying. The interest is going up. You're not ever moving the loan unless you're paying extra money. It just, it makes me sad. Now that I understand, I didn't really understand how high interest rates went for student loans. Once I learned that, I was like, I see why they're in crippling debt. They're in crippling debt. Yeah. Like at least I could get a student loan and I let that thing sit, for a decade and I paid little by little for a little, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a big deal because it wasn't like the interest rate was high. So if I rushed to pay it, good. If I didn't rush to pay it, I'm not going to lose a whole lot. But if they don't rush to pay it, they're going to pay so much money in interest. There are times where you ask for like $35,000 and they want you to pay back a total of 100K. Like this is what's happening right now. To get 35,000, you're paying 100K back. That's insane. That's insane. And now they're coming out of school with all those degrees, 100K each degrees, and AI is taking over so they can't even get employed for entry level positions. So basically, I'm not going to say it was a total waste, but it's a liability that they weren't expecting. So that's interesting and bad. These are the reasons why I'm saying America's declining. It's not random. I actually I actually have real worries about that. Yeah. Here's the bright side though. Here's the bright side. Here's the and this is going to be an interesting twist, but it's the positive side of it. The positive side of these economic downtimes is going to be that women and men need each other more. And so what's happened in my generation is women and men didn't need each other a whole lot. And you see like explosive divorce rates. But a lot of that would have been marriages that could have stayed together if we needed each other more. But we had the money to walk away and we did. We chose to. But by young people having like very little means, I think what difference that'll happen is they will get together, they'll work together on things, they'll build things together, and then when it gets down to like someone acted up, something went wrong, they're going to have all these memories of working together, struggling together, bonding, struggling through their poverty moments and all that. And not only are they going to be bonded because they came up together and they grew together because they were never going to feel like I'm so independent of you and I could make it on my own without you. They got a psychology that we win together psychology. And then likely it'll still be hard to move out financially on your own without a second person in the house. So, I mean, to move out from your husband or wife and then have a roommate, I mean, might as well just keep your husband or wife. Let's see. Do I believe people are born male or female, or is your brain, or your brain is different, and that's why people follow what they believe? Do I believe people are born male? I think this is the reality. Like scientifically, you're born male or female. Now, they do have one small situation where they have hermaphrodites. That's not a big percentage of people, humans, but there are some people that are born literally with two parts, where they may have like, you know, male parts on the outside and woman parts on the inside. That's very, very, very rare. But yeah, other than that, people are born either male or female, and that's how God created them. Now, the people that have the genetic, hermaphrodites, like literally both things, I could see some space for them, their brain, maybe their body looking one way and their brain thinking something else. I could see that. But people are generally born male or female. Yeah. Um, as you know, the Bible tells us not to be unequally yoked to a non-believer. Light has no fellowship with darkness. However, if one is married to a non-believer, we are to stay with that spouse. Amen, Greg. That's the point I should have made as well. The Bible does say that if we're already in a marriage with a non-believer, that we should stay with them. We should just stay with them. The only reason we would leave them is if they abandon the home. They're an unbeliever. If they abandon the home, then the Bible says we're allowed to have a certificate for divorce. But if they're an unbeliever and they're agreeing to stay with you, the Bible says we should stay as a family. That's what it says. Somebody said, I believe you when you say hard times are coming. All right, let's go to the bottom of the chat here. See what's up with you guys. Do, 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 do. What do I usually talk about? I usually talk about the Bible. Hi, Mas over there in Indonesia. Welcome. You were born a unicorn? Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Someone said, would it be difficult to marry someone you're equally yoked with, but they do not have a home? They do not make close salary to me. Is this something that, okay. Would it be difficult for me to marry someone that spiritually they're mature? So spiritually they're able to lead. This is the question. Would it be hard for me to marry them if they do not have a home and they do not make close to my money? Yep. Let's just be honest. Yep, that would be hard. That would be hard. Here's why. I don't think they have to make the same exact amount of money. I don't think they have to make the same amount of money. But then you add it to it, they don't have a home. See, now we're talking about some differences here. So look, if they don't have a home, here's my first question. Where are we going to live? I'll pose that question. If they don't have a home, it's okay. But the question is, are they in position to get a home? Because look, I have a home. I have a home. So the first question is, are they in a position to get a home? Because if I get married, I have no intention of living in this house where I was already married in this house. And I think you can understand why. I have no interest in having a husband in a house where I previously had a husband. That doesn't even make any sense. So yeah, if and even if I didn't have a husband in this house before, I would say this. I would say who's the head of the home? And we have to, and this is a mistake that I made when I got married before, even though I was really, young. The mistake is that when you don't have proper headship, or as a woman, you're trying to assume the role of the head, it is going to unravel. It is simply going to unravel. It is simply going to unravel. It may not unravel in 1 year or in one day, but over this span of 5 to 10 years, it will unravel if it's out of order. That's what I will say. And that is because as a woman, we're supposed to submit. We're supposed to submit up under someone. Now, they don't need to have a big house. It doesn't need to be bigger than mine. It doesn't need to be more expensive than mine. Does that make sense? Because we have to have some space here for people to like move on. But they need to be able to provide something. And that was one of my 3 criteria. You guys remember that? They got to be able to provide something. So if they start off saying, hey, all I can afford right now is like is 1,000, say 1,200 square foot home. It's still a home. We'll work with that. But I think it's better in terms of being able to go into a place where we're going to be woman submitting to man. I think it's already a role reversal if I get married and then I bring my new husband into my home. That doesn't, it already smells like role reversal happening. And anybody who's tried to do that with me, I've struck those down immediately. I've ended those things. Every time somebody like came over and they're starting to plan out, I'm moving in, cut immediately, because I already know that's not going to work for a lifetime. They need to be able to head the household, whether it's a small one or a big one. They got to be able to head the household. They got to be able to go to work, provide. If they're independently wealthy, so be it. As long as they can provide and offer protection for me. If they can't house me, they can't protect me. They just can't do it. So this is like, I would call that foundation level stuff. And I don't care if somebody thinks, oh, you're a gold digger. It's fine. They can think it. I've dated enough broke guys. I can prove I'm not a gold digger. I've dated enough broke ones, so I'm not a gold digger. I can promise you that. But what I've learned is the hard way that I struggle with submission if it's not a natural, if I don't naturally respect that person. And it would be hard for me to be like, okay, it will be hard for me. Ideally, they don't need to have more money than me, but they would have needed to have managed the money they had well in order to do good enough to bring me in. They don't have to have a larger square footage as me, but if like my parents are a perfect example, they may have less than me, but it's comfortable there. It's fine. You know what I mean? So they don't have to have like some big old house, but they need to have a roof over the head. And ideally, not an apartment, but a house, ideally, because you have to talk about, like we just talked about, like how much of a struggle it is for young people to get a house. It speaks to being able to keep me on a standard of living that I'm already on. And here's what I've learned from dating. And I know this is going to be like, I tell you guys the truth, even if it's not popular. The reality is women aren't going to tell you all the time that they're feeling stressed out. That's not how it works. Like, for me, because I've dated rich guys and I've dated broke guys, I've dated both. So I can actually give you the difference because of that. I didn't intentionally do it so I could tell you the difference. It's just the history. The history is there. When I've dated broke guys, I didn't ask like a lot of questions about their income, their money, their bills. I didn't ask any questions. I also didn't ask any questions of the rich guys, their money, their bills, their whatever. I didn't ask questions of either. But I could tell when, so someone had posted in the chat earlier, oh, there's this girl that I like. I want to get a motorcycle. I want to impress her kind of thing, kind of a little bit. I could tell when I went out with the guys who had less, I could feel it. I don't know how to describe it. I could feel it. I could feel that they wanted in their heart to do everything for me. And I loved that feeling. I was so flattered by that feeling. But I felt a tremendous amount of stress every time they took me out to a nice place. Every time they did it, I felt so stressed out because I'm thinking in my head, I'm eating my food and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope he can make rent. Oh my God, I hope he can pay for his kid. Oh my God, I hope he can pay his child support. Oh my God, I hope everything's okay. This is what's going on in my head. This is happening in my head as I'm eating my food. So I don't know if you guys can feel me. That doesn't make me a gold digger. It makes me like a rational human being. I'm literally in my head about it because I can feel like, oh my gosh, this one guy, every time I went out with him, it was always something. It really wasn't anything fancy. It was like the stuff that the average guy would have done. But I know for him, I know the difference. For him, all of that was fancy. For me, I'd have been doing that on my own. But he brought me to like games, like restaurants, this, that, all kind of stuff. And I struggled because there were times where like this is before the pandemic and it's before I was saved and I was super a social butterfly. Like I knew all the people. I was at all the events and I was in all the photo ops. I was that girl, okay? I'm not that girl anymore, by the way. I'm quiet. I stay to myself now. I don't have anything against being at the events, but I'm just not that girl like that now. But back when I was that girl, I had so many like fancy events to go to. I would just go by myself. Like I wouldn't even ask the guy to go with me. Do you guys know why? Do you think I wanted to date someone and then go to an event by myself? Do you think I wanted to do that? No. I went on these nice dates with him, but I didn't want to invite him into my other events because they cost so much money. I know it's gonna be like to go out this night on the town is gonna be like 170. Oh, this is gonna be a $200 date. Oh, this is gonna be a $500 date. I know he didn't have it like that, based on his job title. I know he doesn't have it like that. So I would go out with him. The times he invited me out, I would go out wherever he wanted to go. I would never like suggest the place because I don't know what he could afford. So do you see how I automatically have to think all these things. As soon as I'm dating somebody who has less money than me, I automatically have to think, do you see, for me, I already feel stressed out just thinking like that. Do you feel, I'm tense. It's not a gold digger mentality. It's not my lifestyle. So that makes me feel tense even thinking about it. So I felt tense for him. I'm like, this is wasteful. He doesn't have this kind of money. I feel tense because is he going to make rent? Is he going to be able to pay his child support? Like, is this going to be okay at the end? Then on my note, when I got ready to go do things with my friends, it was about that time where I should have been bringing him into my friendship circle and letting him meet my friends and let's kick it all together. But I couldn't do that because if I brought him in, y'all, imagine how crazy I look. I bring him in, we go to some nice restaurant. The restaurant costs crazy amounts of money. And then my friends know me and they know my quality of life. Which I would never do it, if I go pay for the thing, my friends are going to notice that. And they are going to lose respect for him immediately. So I would destroy his image in front of my friends. If I pull up my credit card and paid for both of us, I might as well have talked bad about my man to my friends. So it's that bad. Again, maybe because I live in a big city, it's like that. It's probably like that way in New York. It's probably that way in LA. Maybe in Montana, it's probably not like that. Maybe in Mississippi, it's not like that. I don't know. But it's that way here. Well, at least in my circle, my friend circle. I won't say it's everybody's friend circle. So yeah, I just wouldn't invite him because I'm like, okay, this is you're gonna have to have a certain outfit to come here. That's gonna cost money because he probably didn't have a suit. It's gonna cost that much to get ready. Then he's got to actually pay for the date. Already, that's just too much. Already, just to buy the outfit, we're already over the top here. So imagine I learned by doing those things. So it's not that I have a heart like, oh, my man must be rich. No, it's not true. But I learned in those situations because I'm not a gold digger, I would date everybody. I learned how tense I became in the struggle of trying to adjust my quality of life down. It doesn't work. It didn't work for me. I'm just being honest, it didn't work for me. It was a struggle. It was hard. People aren't going to tell you that. I felt bad the days he took me out. So then what I ended up doing is a lot of times I'd just be like, oh, why don't you just come over? And I would try to have like come over dates, which is also not a date, by the way. Yeah, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And if you think about it biblically, I know you probably guys probably you're probably I'm probably getting like all kinds of like comments right now. Thankfully, I'm not seeing them yet. But I'm not trying to make it seem innocent. In the biblical times, in order to go get a woman, you had to like look what Abraham did for Isaac. They went to go get that woman. They talked to the family and they said, "Hey, we've got all this stuff. We can adequately provide for her, equal or better than you. Actually, we can provide better than you." The servant said, "My master is quite wealthy. We can take care of her nicely here. So, are you going to let her go? Yes or no?" So, it wasn't that a woman was going to leave her father's house and go live in poverty in a box. A woman was never going to do that in the biblical time. And if she does it in 2025, what's going to end up happening is the role reversal will begin to happen. If she's not provided for, she will begin to provide for herself. Her femininity will eventually erode. She will become more masculine. The man will become emasculated. And that relationship is going to end. I've realized over a period of time, for me, when the guy's not able to do that part for me, I'm not going to be able to submit to him. The role reversal is going to happen shortly after that. And then I'm not going to feel like he's the man and I'm the woman. I'm not going to feel like that. So I won't do it anymore. I did a lot of it because I have stories. I'm not going to do it anymore. And if I never get married, I'm okay. It's not that big a deal. I know the next person's going to say, "Oh wait, you're going to find yourself single." I'm okay if I find myself single because it's not the proper move to make to enter a marriage with someone who I cannot submit to. These things we have to figure out if we're going to go a lifetime. So I've already done that battle in my brain. I've already cried my tears over, but what if I don't get a husband? I've already had the what if I don't get a husband tears. So I realize that that is a very important piece of life is to be able to continue the same quality of life you already have. That's important. It doesn't have to be as big a house. It doesn't have to be as much money in the bank. But if I feel a sense of stress all the time, it's probably because they're not managing the money well. If they're managing the money well, eventually they're going to have accomplished a house, even if it's small, eventually, even if it's super small, and they would have some savings enough to like do some kind of investments, enough to do some of that. They'll be able to do something over time, maybe not when they're 20, but over a period of time. So, I mean, if I was 20, then that's a different story, but I'm grown. So yeah, they don't have to make my salary. To sum it up, they don't have to make my salary. They don't have to have as big a house. They could have half the house and half the salary, but they do need to be able to provide and protect. I do need to be able to look to them and be a person who solves things. And if they can't do that, it's probably not going to work. Not for me, and it probably won't work for another woman either. It probably won't. So what's better for that guy is to find a woman who can afford, who he can impress with what he can afford. So if he can afford a 1,000 square foot house, that he needs to find a girl who's like, this is great. This is great. This is a move. Maybe she's used to living in an apartment, so that's a move up. Find a girl who it matches for her. Like, oh, wow, this is great. That's who you find. If you find a girl who lives in a palace and then you move her into a 1,000 square foot house, that is not going to work. That is going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart. Even in societies where they do arranged marriages, they look at all these things. Don't forget, I almost married a guy who came from a society of arranged marriages, so I know all those things. They would never even in Eastern worlds, they would never marry somebody who doesn't have the same like religion, languages. They need to have similar values. All they have a chart almost that they have to check off in order to marry those people, and they would never intermingle if it financially didn't mix either. So education levels made sense. All those things made sense. If the man had less money, he still got arranged. He got arranged to a girl who was equally, who was going to be equally impressed with where he was at. That's just the best way to partner. That's all. I know that's kind of like a harsh thing, but whatever. I can't clean it up. On my second mortgage with no education, I'm a hard worker who hangs out. Oh, I love that. It's okay if you got a second mortgage. It's still a blessing. If you got a second mortgage, you're blessed. You have a place to live. You have a roof over your head. You're blessed. Single independent women, always trouble. Ibel asked about single independent women. They're always trouble. Given that I'm a single independent woman, I'll tell you that it's trouble. Somebody said coding is definitely the only way forward for young people. Not anymore. Not anymore. Coding is now being taken over by AI. And so entry level coders are basically, a lot of them are unemployed. So yeah, coding is not the way forward anymore. I mean, they do have some aspects of it where they're still looking for like one person to manage the process of the coding, but all in all, it's not like a secure thing like it used to be. Like 7 years ago, yeah, 7 years ago and beyond, it was secure. It's not secure anymore. So, is it makeup witchcraft? I don't think so. Do 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 do. Have I been anywhere else? Um, I went to India to get my marriage approvals. I didn't get married. I went to. I've been to London. I've been to Puerto Rico. I've been to Spain. I haven't been around a lot. I have not. I've not traveled a lot. I also am not really. I'm a homebody, so if I don't go all over the countries, I don't care. Although for a long time I wanted to go to Hawaii, I just never went. But yeah, no, I haven't been a lot of places. I mean, I traveled for work for years, so I've traveled all over America. And honestly, that'll do something to you. I don't know if anybody can feel me. If you've lived out of a suitcase for years, if you've done that, you get this thing where you really like home. Because I've lived out of hotels for years. I don't know if anybody can feel me on traveling for years, but I mean, it's cool at first. It's cool until you have like no friends left, so your boyfriends leave you. So it's cool at first. I mean, you make a ton of money, you meet people on the road, but at the end of the day, once you travel enough, you've traveled enough. You know what I mean? So I like being at home. I remember like sleeping in different hotels all over America and just, like, I mean, the hotels were nice and comfortable, but, you know, there's something about being at home I like. So I always was happy when I like got in the airplane, I crossed over to where Going from the north of America, going from north to south, you guys know, like if you're traveling from like New York, because I spend a lot of time in New York. When you're traveling from New York to Atlanta, it's like dreary for part of the trip. Like half of the trip, it's like gloomy and dreary. And then as soon as you pass the Carolinas, the sun is out. And you like, every time I'd be on the plane and like you cross the Carolinas and the sun would be out, I'd be like, oh, it's sunny. I used to just love that. And then when I got to the airport at Atlanta's airport, I get in my car and I'd be like so happy to be in my like posh car because I was stuck in like, rentals that were not as comfortable. I get back in my car and just like, y'all don't know the feeling to put your sunroof down, to put some music on and be in your car and be in your hometown. That was the thing. Friday night, I'd be like, this time of night, I would be just walking in. I mean, or I would be traveling in and going straight out. That's what I would have been doing back then. Um, if my flight was delayed, I'd be just walking in around 1 a.m. So yeah, after you've done it enough, though, I can't describe it. After a while, I mean, there's a trade off, y'all. Like, I lived out of a suitcase for years. There's a trade off. Like, you don't, at that age, looking back, I would never recommend a young woman to travel like that. That was actually, it was good for my money and my career, but it was bad for getting married and all of that. I would never recommend. I wasn't thinking about that. Feminism had invaded my brain. So I wasn't thinking about those things. But when I talk to young women now, I definitely tell them the truth about those things. That you like people try to act like you can have it all, but this is what you're exchanging. Let me explain to you what you're giving up so that you're not surprised by what you're giving up, you know? But yeah, I love being at home. I love being at home. I can't really put it into words, but it's probably I'm a lot like my dad who loves being at home. And I think it's also I traveled for years and I remember the joy of just getting in my car and driving to my house after a week of being someplace else. Even though I only got a day here, I loved being here for the 1 day. And I don't know if anybody could feel me, but I loved being here for 1 day. 1 day, I get to go. For the longest time, my neighbors were like, she doesn't live here. And then I'd come outside and I'd be like, yeah, I'm just visiting. I'll be gone tomorrow. I'm just visiting. But it was a lot of things. I think I got into traveling a lot because I was probably running away from my divorce, my life, myself. I probably was trying to make money, all those things. It's probably a combination of all the factors, but I don't recommend it for young women. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's a good use of your time. I think I think you should wait till after 40 if you want to be doing all kinds of traveling. Do it then. I mean, if you don't care about ever getting married, then go for it. If you don't care about getting married, then definitely go for it. Do it as young as you want, but there is a trade-off and close friendships. I mean, I've got pictures of me at brunch with a suitcase. Like that was my only time I could see my friends. Like, oh, they call me and say, "Oh, we're having brunch." Okay, but I have to fly out, and there's me at a table with a suitcase. Like I have tons of pictures of me at a suitcase with me in a suitcase at a table, and that is sad, actually. That to me, that's sad. Maybe to someone else it seems exciting, but you didn't do it for years, so I don't think it's exciting. I think it's sad. I'd rather spend time with my friends. Um, oh, somebody said blame the greedy boomers for all the inflation. I don't know who to blame for the inflation, guys. I don't know who to blame for the inflation. I'm not an economist. I just know that things keep changing financially for the worst overall for the society. That's what I'm seeing. and I don't know what to say about it. Um, I agree with you, Greg. Like God does not send you to hell; you send yourself to hell because God gave us Jesus to help usher us into heaven. That's true. Amen. Um, all right. Somebody said, "I'm not going anywhere if I can't support myself." See, that's good. But there's like a whole swath of people right now that will still try to get out there and do the things that they can't afford to do. When I was young enough and broke enough, I would just stay still. I would stay still. And I can remember, like, stay still. If it's 6 months, oh, money is low, I'm trying to get my money up. It's going to be 6 months. I'm not going out, not doing anything. I'm just going to stay put. But everybody's different. But you have to remember the psychology too is I could see that there was a way out if I waited this much time and worked this many hours and that eventually I'd come out of it. But here's the difference. I think inflation is so bad and interest rates are so high. I think people are feeling hopeless. And I think that's the psychology that's making them say, screw it, I'm going to live my life as much as I can. If they feel like they're never going to have anything to own themselves, they're just going to just spend money however because they figure, well, I don't own anything. I might as well. I'm do the best I can, hang out and have fun. I think that's where the psychology is coming from. Oh, somebody said dealing with the wealth gap of the billionaires. I don't know. Um, Somebody said that's not even the worst. Your social systems are behind every third world country. See, somebody started talking about how bad we are. I haven't dealt with the social systems personally, so I can't tell you from my own personal experience how hard it is depending on the government because I've not had that connection to the government. So that's one I can't speak on. I can't speak on that. I can just say that I understand that some people have experienced the social systems and like SNAP benefits just left for a little bit and people were worried if they depended on SNAP benefits for food. Fortunately, I've been blessed in those areas and I've never known what it's like to have any government assistance. So I just don't know what that's like. So I can just say if those things are not common in other countries, then that's doubly sad. It's doubly sad if you're saying that this is an anomaly and America had it and other places are not struggling that way with their countries, then I'm even doubly sad that they're so like that's sad. If this is not normal, I assumed it's normal because I hear every couple of years I hear about the government shutting down and I hear that all the time. So I initially didn't think much of it, to be honest, because I hear it, they shut down, they do their little political warfare, and then they finally sit down and they approve some stuff. I mean, the most annoyance I get is I'm thinking, how are they getting paid to do nothing? Like, they don't like any other job, you'd be fired for that. How do they still have their job and they just don't go to work? And they're still paid for it. I'll never understand. Um, I love that. No matter who sits in the White House, we need to trust in Jesus. I will change that wording from higher power to Jesus. Because nowadays people will talk about God and they don't have the same God as you. So I'm starting to realize that. Earth, Wind, and Fire in the house. I mean, not actually Earth, Wind, and Fire, but someone who loves Earth, Wind, and Fire. Do, 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 do. What did Kevin Samuels talk about? Sopapillas. Is that when they give you the like little crunchy thing and then some ice cream on top? Somebody said I would never move to US. Oh my gosh. I wonder where you live and is it better and how is it better? Tell us. Tell us everything so we can all move in. Okay, someone said one has to keep on giving what it took to get them. Doesn't that include monogamy? Um, I'm assuming yes. I'm assuming yes. I mean, I would only talk about things in terms of monogamy. I wouldn't be talking about anything else. How was my divorce? It wasn't fun. I don't recommend it. And as such, I've not returned back to divorce court because it just wasn't that much fun, as it turns out. I mean, I heard it wasn't fun, but then I realized it really isn't fun. AI Bible Testament, you still in there? Let me see. I think you might have left. What's this chat about? We're doing Ask Me Anything. So people are popping their questions in the chat and they're asking any questions that they might have. So we're talking about anything you want to talk about. You're popping the question in, I'm answering it. Happy Sunday, Daniel. Ooh. Justin said, I've been down and out before. Mm-mm-mm. Somebody said inflation isn't really not that bad. It's budgeting that's the problem. Okay, someone's saying budgeting, it's budgeting. I don't think it's just budgeting, just because I mean, I grew up in America and the amount that the price of things is different now. It's different. Like $5,000 used to get you a decent used car. $10,000 could get you a really nice used car. You're not getting anything but a hoopty for $10,000 now. So I'm confused by that. And they want you to spend like 20 grand on a used car. I'm like, it's used. Like, can you drop that price some? Like, by the time you do tax, title, and license, you're at like 23, 25. I'm like, it's used. I'll never understand. I won't understand it. Something has gone wrong, y'all. Um, I would not say that black people are always broke. Atlanta is full of rich black people. So I don't know that. I don't know that life. All I know is a bunch of rich black people over here, and they are rich and they are black. It's so weird because my coworkers came down from New York and they were even surprised because my coworkers from New York, they're white. And they were like, oh my gosh, like everybody here is educated. Everybody here has money. Like they could sense the difference in culture. They were like, yeah, it's different here. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't like taken y'all out. So yeah, it's totally different here. So this was like, they were from upstate New York. So it's like very country up there. And, but it's still New York, state of New York, but it's really like, it's really country up there on the like north side. So, so yeah, they were just like, I can't believe it. Cause, If you just watch the like evening news, you might think that black people are poor or black people are uneducated if you look at the evening news. But actually, that's one of the really encouraging things about Atlanta. I know Atlanta is a struggle bus when it comes to like being led by the spirit kind of stuff, but people financially do good here. I mean, I'm not an anomaly. People do good here. People really do well here. People do well here. People have big houses here. People make a lot of money here. People have a lot of investments here. People make money. Their lifestyle is good here. So I'm not special with that either. They all live like that here. It would be weird if I didn't live like that here. That would be like, oh, that's weird. So yeah, if you know black people that are broke, I'm sorry. I actually don't know a lot of black people that are broke. I don't. I don't. They're rich. They're rich. Someone asked me, is it wrong to have a prenuptial agreement in order to protect your assets in a potential marriage to someone? So I have evolved on this question. I used to be super duper duper anti prenup. I used to be so anti prenup because I really feel like marriage is supposed to be forever. You shouldn't be preparing for a divorce, blah, 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 blah. I was so anti prenup. But I've been talking with all my rich black worldly friends, all my rich black male worldly friends, right? And they're just not getting married without a prenup. That's the reality. They're just not doing it. So I've actually had to evolve over time because the conversations I've had with them is like, hey, like, so you're in sin right now. Like, don't you know that Jesus doesn't like that? And they're like, yeah, but I mean, a lot of people feel nervous even about getting a prenup and getting married. So, given, here's the reality, people that like what I'm observing nowadays is people that have a lot, they're like, when people have a lot, they're usually not very churchy. When they have a lot, they're kind of like living the worldly lifestyle. So they're just going to stay in sin like that. And if they have a lot of money, to be honest with you, in a town like Atlanta, having a lot of money means you can have a girl, whichever one you want for that week or month, depending on how much money you shell out. You can just keep the same one. And you don't even have to marry them. They're fine just hanging out with you. They're fine just being the plus one. So because the moral standard is so low, it's become easy just to keep a woman without marrying her. So they've allowed that, right? So on one hand, men are not going lonely because they don't want to marry. So now you've got rich guys who don't have to marry because they have money to just keep the women around. The women are happy enough just being kept around. So they're not forcing and pushing for the marriage either. They're just going to stick like that. So now people are just living in sin. So, given the fact that most guys here have a lot of money, and as people get older, they acquire more assets. So at 20 years old, you probably don't need a prenup unless you came from money. If your parents have given you a trust and all that, and you've got stuff coming down the pipeline, then you might. But most people at 20 don't really need a prenup because they don't have much of anything unless their parents are rich. Then they need a prenup. By the time a person hits 40 years old, at least in Atlanta, they need a prenup because they need a prenup. They just need it. I've evolved on it. I used to be so anti-prenup because I just don't like the idea of preparing anything that feels like preparing for divorce. But I've realized that A lot of people literally are not moving forward without it. That's number one. They're just not going to move forward without it. And they need assurances that you're not trying to take them for half when they've watched so many of their friends get taken for half. Like there's enough, honestly, there's enough women that have been greedy in their divorces that I can see why a man might be a little concerned. So if the man is adequately able to provide and they're doing financially very well, yeah. I mean, actually, at this point, I used to be anti prenup, but now I actually support it. I mean, I support it. Even I support it. Period. If I'm a man, put it this way, I have seen enough wickedness with women taking everything from men at this point. Not saying that everyone will, but I've seen enough of it that if I'm a man, I definitely wouldn't get married without a prenup. And actually, as a woman, I'm not going to get married without a prenup. I'm not going to do it either. That solves the problem. It goes both ways. So, yeah, that's what's up. I think people should get prenups. I think we should just normalize them now. We should normalize it. You got to get a marriage license. Marriage license is done. Prenup is done. People should go ahead and do it because if you can just talk about it while you're happy and make agreements right there, then actually you are better off. And now I would say, out of the same mouth, I would say people should spend as much time like praying for their marriage, all of the things, going to marriage counseling, praying for the marriage, whatever it is to prepare for your marriage that you need to do, fasting, praying, this, that. There should be as much preparation for that marriage going into it as there is planning weddings and prenups. If you find yourself spending, I don't know, 900 hours total for the year planning the wedding and planning the agreement for the prenup, then you should have at least 900 hours preparing, meaning asking all the right questions, getting the type of information you need to have, just getting certain about it, praying, going to marriage counselors, working on whatever trauma things with each other, whatever needs to happen before that marriage, that same amount of time needs to be spent on preparation. So I wouldn't want someone to get a prenup and never talk about their values with that person, never talk about God, never talk about, do they want to have kids? What if we can't have kids? The what ifs. How would you feel about this? How would you feel about that? Guys, I know people that walked into their marriage saying, hey, I don't want kids. And then a couple years in, one person wants a kid. And then what? You guys see? So, like, just those kind of conversations. What do we do if we start off this way and then you change? What do we do? What if this? What if that? Just talking through some things. And you'll never know everything. But I just don't like the psychology of preparing for a divorce and not preparing for the wedding, you know? So as long as you do both. So yeah, I used to be anti prenup. I'm pro prenup now. Everybody should get a prenup. And more importantly, everybody should just get married. Plenty of people are living together for 7 years and whatnot. Like, isn't that like common law marriage at that point? Just go ahead and get married. Sign off the paperwork. So yeah. Do, 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 do. I see a birthday in the house. MKJ, is it your birthday? Everybody, let's sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, MKJ. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Happy birthday, MKJ. Hope you're having a good one. Let's see. One thing left for young men is blue collar. I left tech and joined the maritime industry. Don't get a degree and have it be useless in 5 years. Yeah, blue collar right now is booming. They say electricians, plumbers, those things are steady. You don't have to worry. I'm not even sure how steady healthcare is going to be because when you think about it, like if you're a radiologist, AI can read those CT scans and stuff. So I think radiology is at super duper risk. During the pandemic, they had like robots assisting the nurses from satellite and stuff. So yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how useful it's going to be to have like a bunch of doctors. I think doctors are at risk too. I think they may be able to have fewer of them, or maybe just certain fields will be just. I think radiology is at super duper risk. I don't think you're going to need anybody reading an MRI for the longest time. Oh, I agree with AI Bible Testament. Hi, AI Bible Testament. I don't know if you're still in here, but hi if you are. Yes, men are to be providers. They actually are. I mean, it's a risk. All of this stuff is a risk, though. I say all that with like with a grain of salt. I mean, somebody's talking about Kevin Samuels in here. Believe it or not, a lot of what Kevin Samuels said, he wasn't very pleasant about how he said things, but he said a lot of things that made a lot of sense. I mean, it just, he wasn't very nice about it. What he basically told people is if you really, really break it all the way down, he discouraged divorce. He discouraged, I mean, he didn't talk about this as biblical principles. He definitely did not. He was definitely disrespectful. But he talked about the fact that divorce is damaging, particularly for women. He talked about the fact that, be careful thinking you're going to like upgrade and then suddenly get another better guy because, it gets harder as women get older. It gets harder, and I can actually confirm that. So, so yeah, he gave a lot of, and he explained the fact that it is probably like, when you get a guy who doesn't have any kids, I'm not sure, you'll find some who are going to be like, yeah, I'll move forward with you. And then you'll find some that are like, no, I don't want to move forward with you. You'll see that. He talked about those things. He talked about the realities of what happens out there, So, I mean, it's unpleasant how he said it, but I think it's all the more reason to follow what God says. And even if you haven't followed what God says, it's all the more reason to pray for God to fulfill the desires of your heart because God has the final say. Even though the world seems like doors are closing, God can open doors that no one else could imagine opening for you. So he gave the practical wisdom is what I would call it. I'm not saying to go follow his work because it'll have you feel hopeless, but the practical wisdom is that a woman who's 32 and getting divorced because she's bored. Basically, he called people out for that, and that's biblical. He basically said, "Oh, you're getting divorced for irreconcilable differences. Oh, so there's no infidelity on either side." And she's like, "No, I just feel like we've grown apart." He crushed a woman for saying something like that to him. And I say rightfully so, because it's very hard to find a man who truly loves you, not for like just your beauty and all these things. Obviously, you're going to have to be somewhat attractive, right? But someone who's like willing to do a lifetime with you, it's actually really hard to find someone who wants your best interests, backs you, provides for you, like who really is like your husband, your cheerleader, your best friend. And because something gets a little bit stale and bored while he's up every day working hard to provide, just because it gets a little stale and boring because you've been at home with the kids, that's not a reason to try to upgrade to a different man. And so, yeah, it's not a good reason to. And the practical wisdom is he's telling these women, don't leave your husband. You've got what, two kids and you're middle aged. What are you leaving your husband for? Like, do you think you're going to get a better husband, middle aged, with your two kids? Like, he's trying to use the practical wisdom that it's not always, it's risky to do that. That's what I would say. And I've said a similar thing. I've said it's risky to do that, that not everybody gets remarried. Look at me. I never got remarried. I never got remarried. So, and I thought in my head I was going to get remarried. It didn't happen. So, what I'm saying is now, could I have gotten remarried? Yes. But it didn't happen, meaning all the stars didn't line up. I didn't find the right person. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Whatever it is, it didn't happen. And I don't think that I'm unique in that scenario. So I try to tell women, get married young, stay married. Don't try to like, oh, it's late 20s. I'm getting bored. I feel like I'm losing my identity. Pray about it. Talk to your husband about it. Take up some hobbies and keep your marriage. It's very simple. Don't think that you're leaving your husband and becoming independent and being a boss babe is going to make your life sweet. Just don't be deceived. So, yeah. But yeah, he told a lot of truths. It was just, he just was really, really mean about it. Must be an RN. Yeah, I'm an RN. Um, but yeah. But that doesn't make me a gold digger, On the contrary, a lot of times I think what's kind of a wrong thing is to string somebody along and have them paying for dates every weekend, and you're not going to marry that guy, and that guy's in love with you, and you just keep stringing that guy along, and there's one day you might be dating him and you're open to like the possibility of marriage, right? And then you wake up one day and you're like, nope, he's not it. I'm not going to marry this guy. Like, I've had those epiphanies. The day that I wake up and I'm like, nope, we're not going to cross that finish line together. It's not going to be us. The day that I wake up and I know that, I cut it off from that guy. I just cut it off because he doesn't need to be spending time with me and, spending money on me. If I've decided, nope, it's not going to happen, then I might as well leave him alone. Let him find his wife. So I think the people that hold on to someone for too long and like suck their bank account dry as they're holding on to them, knowing that they don't take them seriously, I think those are the real gold diggers right there. But, if it takes you 2-3 months to make that decision or 5 or 6 months, then I don't think you're a gold digger. That's what dating is for. You're trying to decide if that's going to be your person. Somebody said women don't respect men, they respect money. Well, then get a prenup. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know. The last time, actually, believe it or not, last time I thought about getting a prenup, I didn't actually do it, but I should have. I should have. I don't know this story about buy a dog from Kevin Samuels. I suppose you were saying if you're bored or something, then go buy a dog. Minnesota's in the house. Welcome, Justin. No, I'm not really describing my relationship issues. Like, at the end of the day, I know a lot of women who I've spoken to a lot of women who face similar scenarios. And this might be a big city thing, but a lot of women kind of put their careers first. And they put their careers first, they chase money, this and that, because in the town that I live in, culturally, that's what's the priority on both sides. Men are trying to get their money, women are trying to get their money, and they're so focused on that that they're not really thinking about each other, you know? So once they finally have their money together, then the men are like, oh, snap, if I get married, my money's at risk. So they still get nervous about getting married. Then the women, by the time they get their money together, they're like, okay, I'm ready. But now the guys have started looking for women younger than them because it took them a minute to get their money together. So I think it kind of hits both of them different ways. I think small towns are awesome, but I know like once you've dated everybody in your small town, then you feel like, oh, small towns are still awesome though. Um, and also big towns are awesome. I mean, honestly, I could drive to the west side of town and just meet somebody different just by driving over there. And there's something cool about that. Like I can just take a different turn and meet someone new. Whereas in a small town, I can take a different turn and I'm meeting the same person again. So, I mean, I think there's something sweet about small towns because, in my hometown, everybody got married at 18, but that was the culture there. But people definitely don't do that here. But I don't know. There was something sweet about the small town vibes that everybody knows everybody. And there's something kind of cool about taking a different turn and meeting a whole nother group of people. I don't know. Wait, there was like one year, me and my girlfriends were out having like brunch for Easter, and we like picked up a woman who was like single and alone, and we just added her to our brunch party. Like, oh wait, you're out for Easter without anyone? Be with us. So like in a big town, like that's cool too. You know what I mean? So in a small town, I have a feeling the girl would have just stayed home. She wouldn't have gone out. In a big town, she would have gone out and done something adventurous on a special day. Um, what if she pays what the account both have accumulated? You shouldn't care what others think. No. If you're paying, so let's walk this back. I was talking about in a dating scenario. Why would I have an account if I'm dating somebody? Like, why would I have his credit card and be swiping his credit card? And why would we have our money in the same account if we're dating? I don't understand that. If we're dating, we should not have our money mixed up, I don't think. I don't think at all. I think that's a marriage thing. That's not a dating thing. If you're married, then yeah, you can have the same account. You could swipe one person. Once you're married, it doesn't matter who's swiping what card because everybody knows that the money is pooled to one household. Everybody knows if I go buy a car, then my husband's going to be like, girl, you didn't talk to me about buying a car before you bought a car. I don't care if you have the money or not, girl. Yeah. So, yeah, you shouldn't just be having like a joint account when you're dating. That doesn't make any sense at all. That's some married people stuff. And if you're married, it doesn't matter who swipes what card. No, it doesn't. Because everybody at the table knows you're married, and everybody at the table knows that all of the assets and liabilities are shared. So then it doesn't actually matter because everyone knows you're married. Yeah, you can't come over and have a just chill date. No, you can't. We don't do that anymore. Um, oh, I'm sorry you haven't been on a date in a long time. I haven't been on a date in a long time either. I'm sorry. But like just try to enjoy your singleness. Like if you haven't been on a date in a long time, like just try to enjoy it. Like lean into it. Like try to like do some things that are new that you wouldn't be able to do if somebody were sucking up all your time. Do you know what I mean? Like, try to look at the beauty of singleness as if it's beautiful because there are some parts of it that are. Like, do you guys know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm okay right now. Like, catch me in the season where I got my like Kleenex about it. I'll have a boohoo session with you guys too. But I'm in a happy season, so it's all good. But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. Like, if that's your desire, then as a man, if that's your desire to be on a date with someone, then just try to get your money stable. Doesn't have, you don't have to be rich or something. Just get your money stable where you can afford to take the girl out, and where where you can kind of afford to like move your way into being able to afford to like have a roof over your head. Doesn't have to be big, just big enough to where if she wants to come live with you, that you could marry her and she could live there. Just try to make sure that you've got that together, and then I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have to put yourself out there, ask people out, and it's hard and it's scary, but you'll be okay. But you're gonna have to do it, if it's dating apps or if it's church events or if it's conferences or you know group dinners and meetups. You're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to get yourself out there, darling. You got to do it because how else are you gonna find her? Girls like me aren't gonna be doing all that stuff. Aren't gonna be working all that hard. So you got to find them. Why am I single? I'm single because I live a surrendered life to Christ, and I need someone who lives that way. And people talk, but they don't actually live like that. Trust me, I could just be on a date right now, but it's a waste of time because I don't want to date people that I'm not going to marry. So I don't want to keep going on all these dinner dates. I don't want that. I could be on one right now, but I don't want that. It's just not, I've been on enough dates. I eaten enough dinner. That's not actually what I want. I want to get to the finish line and have somebody who's like mutually the same way that I am. So that's all. I think that's fine though. And I've prayed about it and talked to God about it. I don't want to be on a bunch of dates. So it's just my personal choice that I could be dating. I know eventually I'm going to have to date again, but I don't want to be on like every weekend a different date. I just don't. It's to me that's exhausting. And imagine you're paying on a date for this beautiful girl that you brought, picked up, or whatever, and in her head she's exhausted. You don't want to waste your money on a girl who's exhausted and doesn't really want to be on a date. So I don't want to be on a date. I want to be like on a date with someone who's going to be my forever. And I don't want to have to go through 5 or 10 people to get to my forever. I'd rather assess a little bit and then say, no, this is not going to be my person. I'd rather not be on so many dates. So if I could have fewer dates and be with my person, to me, that's ideal. If I have to be on a tremendous amount of dates to be with my person, I don't have the capacity for that right now. I don't have the capacity for that. I just don't. I don't have the desire for that. So if it was a requirement, I would do it, but I don't have the desire for that at all. And that desire has not been in my heart for years. Like I don't have capacity for dating 5 or 10 more people to get to a husband. Nope. So God knows what the deal is. He's going to provide. I know. Amen. AI Bible Testament says men should be the providers of the relationship. It is okay if the woman works too, but the man shouldn't be dependent on the woman. That is my point. That is my point. And it's a biblical point is what he says. And in my experience, I'm going to tell you the truth. In my experience, I've broken this rule a bunch of different times because I'm not a gold digger. I've broken this rule a bunch of different times. And every time I've broken that rule, it has bit me tremendously. It has bit me tremendously. I'm just gonna blanket for the girls in the chat. I'm gonna blanket recommend if the guy does not have a roof over his head, not in position to like, oh, like he's got an apartment, he actually has a roof over his head. He's got like enough space where he could like move you in. Probably don't even like if he's like be careful about those ones. If he's like still at home, be careful. Just because where are you gonna live? Because look, where are you gonna be? Where are you gonna do things? I'm gonna caution for worldly people who are not in the church. If a guy is trying to go to a girl's house to sleep with a girl, that is red flag number one, even if you're in the world. If you're in the church, you shouldn't be doing that. If you're in the world and the guy is trying to come to your house and sleep with you, that's an absolute no. That's a loser. That's a loser move. Don't do that. Don't let him come over. Think about like I just want to slap my head when I think about that. Think about that biblically. Look at the difference between the Bible and how far we fallen from the Bible from 2,000 years ago. My God. Think about this. Biblical time, if a guy was coming over to your house, he was coming over with jewelry in a conversation with your family about bringing you home for the purpose of forever. That's why a guy came to your house 2,000 years ago. He came to your house to say, hey, I need to meet your family, not to talk to you. He wasn't coming to your house to talk to you at all. He was coming to your house to talk to your parents, to set up the marriage, to get approvals so that you could go to his house and be there forever. Nowadays, the man wants to come to your house, but he wants to come to your house, have sex with you, then leave you there and never marry you ever and never even call you a girlfriend ever. And then he wants to do that with 10 other people. This is how far we've fallen. So this is not even working in the worldly standards. It's not working for them either. I don't think it's working in the church, but it's also not working in the world. So my point is, women, don't let them into your personal space. Don't let them in your personal space, especially if you don't think they have self-control, right? If you don't think they have self-control, then you could automatically like, I'll be honest with you, this is what I did that was not good, but you know, I did have a few check marks there. When I was dating after I got saved and then I dated unbelievers, how about this? I did not ever let them pick me up at my house. Why? Now, I shouldn't have been out with an unbeliever. That's number one. So I don't recommend that. But, you know, it's a journey. Sanctification is a journey. In my wisdom now, I won't do it. But it took me a while to fight back all that rebellion and get wise. It took me a minute. It took me 3 years exactly. So, yeah, I would not let them come pick me up. I would not let them drop me off. And they always offered to do it. And I'm not silly. Now, I hate driving. So on one end, I was annoyed. But it's my own thing. I'm like, I have to have a barrier between me and my house. My house is not for everybody. I got to have a barrier there. So that's all. You know, I think for women who are not in the church, if you don't think the guy has self-control, don't be letting them pick you up and drop you off. And I know it's like, but you have to protect, you got to guard your house because that's step one to your body. That's what I'm saying. And then you do the same thing. You know, don't be at his house if you don't think he has self-control. Don't be at his house. Don't even be there. That will solve the problem of falling into sin. It solves it. Solving the problem of falling into sin is important because it solves the problem of being in a situationship, which happens all the time in the world. Once you give it up and you didn't have any kind of understanding about what it was, that's all it is. Nothing. and it saves you a lot of heartache. So I would say don't be there. If you don't know he has self control, don't go there. Meaning, if you're not certain he has self control, don't be there. If you're not certain he has self control, don't let him come over. If he's not saved, my brain automatically says he's not wired to even know that that's not a good thing to do. So I don't let him come over. He's not saved. He definitely is not going to know. He's definitely, I don't have to test his self control. He's not wired like me. So no. So at least I did that. At least I did that so I had adequate barriers and I never, ever, ever crossed that barrier. That saved me a ton of trouble. I mean, I also got cheated on because of it. I got cheated on, but I still, with the Holy Spirit always lets me know. But I still did get cheated on. I did. But I would have figured it out sooner if I'd have gone to his house. But actually, he wasn't trying to let me go to his house. That's a long story for another day. But he was trying to come over here. That's a long story for another day. Protect your house. It is the barrier to your body. That's all I will say about that. Canada's in the house. Welcome. Oh my gosh. Miriam, I love your emoji. I don't know what that is. It looks like a heart with like hands, but I love it. Yeah, so I want to comment. AI Bible Testament says money shouldn't be a factor, but what I'm saying is her man should be superior. I ought to qualify that because that's absolutely true. It's spot on. My man should be superior over me. Here's the reason why. Is because I've tried it the other way and I don't end up submitting to the guy. I just don't. I don't do it. I realize that part of me submitting to the guy is when I feel like I don't have to think as hard. Like when I feel like, oh, wait, I have this problem. And I say, oh, I got an issue with one, two, and three. And then they're like, they can critically think, they can solve for it. Then I can just stop thinking about that. That for some reason, it allows me to like loosen up. And then I automatically just relax and let go. Does that make sense? I can't quite describe it. Part of that comes from like just critical thinking, which is that's something that my guy has to have is wisdom. And the other thing is financially, some things require money to solve. Like it just does. Like it just does. I wish if like you got a flat tire that it was just always free to fix it, or if your car broke down that it was just free to fix it. But there are like practically like sometimes you need your guy to like just show up and fix something, and that requires money. So I'm not saying that I've never had a guy ever fix a car or fix a tire or any of that. What I'm saying is, for me, I've tried dating people that there was a very big difference in money. I've done it already. I've done it multiple times already. And here's a perfect example. I just want you guys to think for a second. I went out with a guy and I have a decent sized house. We'll leave it at that. I have a decent sized house. I live on almost an acre of land. I went out with a guy who wanted to get married and then said, oh, we can move into a trailer. I want to ask you, are you giving up a house to go live in a trailer? I just want to ask you the question. That doesn't make any sense. So, am I literally going to feel as comfortable when I've lived in a house for over a decade? And even as a child, I always lived in a house. I never even lived in an apartment as a child. I always had a backyard. Am I literally gonna wake up and feel okay? Am I gonna feel like comfortable, peaceful, relaxed if I wake up in a trailer when I lived in a house literally my entire life, with the exception of like, when I first moved out from my parents and I lived in an apartment. My little transition period between like childhood and like living as an independent person. Obviously everybody lives in an apartment. Like, does that make any sense? So I can already prove I'm not a gold digger, but at the end of the day, does that actually make sense? So now that I've had the experience of doing all those things, I've had the experience that my guy doesn't have the money to take me to the ball that I'm invited to. So I want to go to the ball. I go every year. I got to go by myself. That's a $500 date. That's a $500 date even without the dinner. It's going to cost a couple $100s to get in. It's going to cost a couple $100s to get a tux. That's an event I go by myself to every time I go, because what am I going to do? Take my dude and ask him like, "Oh, can you attend with me?" And then he's got to like work extra shifts and save up, and then that doesn't make any sense. Just let that man keep his money. I'll just go by myself. I'm social. I'll just talk and I'll hang out, meet a bunch of people, and it'll be fine. So, do you guys see the difference? Like, then I have to leave him behind, or I got to stress him out and bring him. How do you think he would feel if I told him? I don't tell these guys this, but how do you think he would feel if I told him, "Oh, hey, I have a $500 ball to go to. Would you like to come?" He's going to feel immense pressure. As a man, he's automatically going to be like, "Sure, I've got to escort you. I've got to take you. You got to show up there with a man at your side." He's going to feel like that. I'm not going to care. I go to the ball every year by myself. What do I care? I actually have friends at that place now, but he's going to be doing all this stuff to get to the ball. What I'm saying is, I can't do that anymore. That I've done it. It doesn't make sense for me. Now I'm not going to do it anymore because I don't want the feeling that I'm stressing a guy out. I don't want to stress him out. I still want to go to my ball. It's okay if I go by myself. I don't want to stress the guy out. It's simple. And I don't want to live in a trailer park now. No, I don't. No, I don't. I lived in a house my whole life. No, I don't want to move into a trailer park. That's it. It's simple. I mean, hopefully even people that like have like a small apartment, they're like, "Oh man, if I save up, I can get my house this year." A lot of people aspire to something. But anyways, it is what it is. Y'all make me look like a gold digger. It's all good though. The real ones know I'm not a gold digger. The real ones know. Let's see. Mm, let's see here. Ooh, that's a deep one. I like that scripture. If you don't work, you don't eat. That's true. Let's see. Um, Plenty of people with money have divorced. I mean, after the divorce, a lot of people that are middle class are struggling for like at least a decade, usually 5 years to a decade, usually financially, pretty much. Middle class people. I mean, I think the rich people, they're just rich or rich. I mean, they're still doing all right. But the middle class people, I think we take a big hit. I think we do. That's just my opinion. I mean, yeah, it takes about 10 years. I think it takes about 10 years of work and money. I mean, I was focused on my money and I was better in probably, what year was it when I really got better? 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, I was better in 4 years, but that's a miracle. I was really pushing. I was better financially in 4 years, but I think it takes I think it takes about 5 or 10 years on average. I was really, really focused on fixing my money. But I think for the most people, I don't think it happens that quick. I think some people it's 10 years in and they're still struggling. So I think if you're middle class, it's hard. I think divorce is hard on your bank account. I don't recommend it. Do, do, do. Ooh, I love a good fight in the chat. uh, is a prenuptial agreement wrong if one is going to eventually get married, but that person has much less, no home, etc.? Okay, so the first guy who asked me for a prenup, the very first guy who asked me for a prenup had no assets. And I laughed in his face. I was like, you want a prenup for what? I was like, first have something. Now, most of you guys will probably say he probably had something, he was just hiding it. No, I knew everything about him. He didn't have anything. I just laughed in his face. I was like, dude, I should be asking you for a prenup. So that was when I was very anti prenup. When I was anti prenup, that conversation came up. So I was super offended by it, obviously, because I was like, wait a second, I'm the one who's got assets and you don't, and you're asking me for a prenup? You gotta get out of here. But I would say a prenup is not wrong, even if you have less. Let me clarify that because you can write into your prenup just different things. That's what lawyers are for. So if you have much less, it doesn't mean you wouldn't that a prenup's not useful. I think it's good to have. I'm going to just broadly say it's good to have in general. Whether you have a little something or a lot of something, I'm going to broadly say it's good to have. Too many people getting divorced, and statistics show that women are the ones filing most of the time. So if I'm a guy, I'm not going anywhere without a prenup nowadays. And I say that sadly, you know. So I think one of the things, so we're talking about finances again. One of the things that you guys have to think about is when the standard of living for a woman changes drastically. Be practical. This is not Bible specifically, but this is practical wisdom. When a standard of living changes for a woman drastically, one of two things will happen. Either she'll become very worried and her joy and happiness will start to dry up. Her femininity will start to dry up and she will become like stressed. Your woman who is stressed, when you come home from work, if she feels stressed, that's not the same woman you met. I promise you. The woman who's worried is not like the happy-go-lucky, free, nurturing, love on you kind of a woman. The woman who's stressed is on pins and needles. Either you don't know if she's gonna nag more because she's stressed. You don't know if she's gonna. You don't know. You don't know. She just might not nurture you and love you the same way. Like the way she expresses love, she might not be as intimate. She might not be as whatever physically, whatever, because she's all stressed out all the time. You don't want to bring a woman, knowingly take a woman out of her natural habitat into a habitat that is like taking a fish out of a pond and throwing it on the concrete. You don't want to take a woman out of her natural habitat that she knows to put her in a habitat that is awkward or uncomfortable. That's not good. That's not good practical wisdom. Now, people do it and they grow out of it, true, but it's not good practical wisdom. If that's gonna be done, it's better to do it when she is fresh out of her parents' house, like 18, 20. Better to do it then. If you're trying to do it after she's lived life and built a life for herself, it just is, the rub is going to be too strong. Practical wisdom is not going to work, generally speaking. But you can do what you want. I mean, there are women that still do it. Like I worked with somebody whose husband didn't work at all. Couldn't be me. I would rather be single. But if she could be how she needs to be at home, it's fine. I could never do it. It would never, ever be me. Because at the end of the day, like if I work and I come home and he's not worked, I'm feeling like, what's going on with this? This is all opposite. I think that's opposite. So no. Um, yeah, apartment's still a home. I got you. Mhm. But do you guys realize that if you manage your money really well and save, there are a lot of people. I'm going to even venture to say a lot of people who make the standard income like less than 50K. A lot of people have been able to save money and buy into a home, even like a regular small home. Do you guys realize like a lot of people are able to do that? That's possible. That's possible. Not only are they able to do that, but then they're able to still provide for their wife and she stay at home. It's really about managing money and being careful on like if you make less, you spend less. You just have to be like, or you would like be very wise with how you invest. Like there's some practical wisdom to like managing money. It's not just make more, make more, make more. It also is how you manage the money and how you make that money grow. If you have good financial planning, you can take your $50,000 as long as you're like not like spending like wild on vacations. Like honestly, on 50K, you're probably not going to be able to save for a house and do all the events and do wild vacations and buy all the newest outfits. Like you can't do it all. You're going to have to be like, no, I'm going to like have a small closet or I'm going to have a fewer clothes that are not as nice and I'm going to be saving money and you're going to be in planning mode. It can be done. It honestly can be done. I promise you it can be. So actually, I have a lot of respect when I see somebody's like, oh, wait, I don't make as much, but I'm going to plan it this way. And I'm still going to end up with my small house, my little car, and I got my family. You can make it work, but it's going to be all planning. It's not going to be by accident. But do you guys see, like, actually, it's all possible. I will tell you, it's all possible. Speaking as the girl who used to like, I got my first apartment as a waitress, y'all. So I know it can be done with proper planning. I got my first apartment and my first car as a waitress. So I 100% know. Did I have more than one job? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Did I work my tail off? Yes, I did. But I know it can be done. Was every single item in that apartment used? Yes, it was. But I had really nice stuff. Honestly, I bought all my stuff used and it was as good quality as the stuff that I have now because I just got it used. Used glass table. I mean, I don't recommend you get somebody else's bed, but I most certainly did buy someone else's bed and I bought someone else's mattresses too. I don't recommend it, but you do what you got to do. Yeah, I bought everything used. I decorated the whole apartment for less than $1,000. That's what I mean by like, honestly, when you have less money, you become more resourceful. And then you think about every purchase in a very strategic way. Every single purchase, you're like, okay, I'm going to go out and buy this thing. What's the going rate for that thing? What's the going rate for it if I get it used? And you're going to be looking to see how, and you want it good quality and you want it to last how many years or how many months? Okay, I'm only going to need this for 1 year. It doesn't have to be good quality. Oh, I'm going to keep this. When I move into my new house, I want to keep this item. I can splurge on that one. I'm going to buy that nice thing. So it is much more about how you manage your money. So if you take a guy who makes 50K and manages his money really well, it may take some years for him to build up some little income, but he will build it. He will be able to move into his apartment. He will be able to afford his car. He at some point will be able to move a wife in that place. It will happen. It's a matter of time. Now, it may take 5 years or it may take 10. But if he's managing his money well, it will happen. It literally will happen. So I have that kind of faith that really anybody can do it. For a time, you might work two jobs, as I did. Even as I did that. So I worked two jobs and I was in school. So that's like having three jobs. I get off of work at 5 a.m. and go to school for 7:30 a.m. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it, but I did get through it. Do I like agnostic peeps? Do you mean for dating? For dating, no. For dating, nope. Only a Christian, and only a Christian who lives a surrendered life to Christ. So I can't even say, unfortunately, I can't say Christian anymore. I gotta say, you gotta be Christian and live a surrendered life. So there should be like our conversation. A lot of things will naturally come to your mind. If you live the surrendered life to Christ, then you're living as much as you can the biblical way to live. And then a lot of the things will just easily flow. But if you're not living a surrendered life, then you're going to be like, oh my God, she's difficult. That's what you'll say. I can tell you now. You'll be like, oh, she's difficult. How do you tell if you've had an interaction with God? I will tell you a couple of my interactions and then I'll let you know. Well, here's a few. I think the first way is to read the Bible so that way you get to know God for yourself. It's hard to understand if you're getting interaction from like your own mind or God or the devil. And it's hard to understand that unless you know the Bible. So the more you know the Bible, the more you know God. That's how you get to know his ways. And that's how you're going to build discernment against things that are like falsely presenting themselves to you as him. So the Bible and your prayer time. Ideally, pray before you read the Bible, and then also ideally have separate prayer time. So that's one thing. That's your actions. Now, how do you know once you've done all that? How do you know if God's speaking to you? Early on, when I first got saved, what I would notice is if I read something in the Bible, it would come up in the midst of my conversation in fellowship with other believers. It would come up, the same topic would come up if I was in church. It would come up, and I felt like, oh my gosh, it was so cool because I was like, I just read that 2 weeks ago. And it was God's little way of saying, I'm right there, I'm with you. Because a second set of people, or even a third set, was reiterating the same thing that I read. And what are the chances? The Bible is huge. What are the chances something that I just read is going to come up in a fellowship conversation, and then sometimes a second time, like actually in church? So that was one way I felt like God was speaking to me. Other times God would speak to me is through like words of encouragement through his people. So sometimes, God will allow a person of the faith to like speak to you in a way that uplifts you. And God can use anybody. God can use an unbeliever who may say something that uplifts you one day. So through words of encouragement, in the Bible, you'll see prophecy as future telling, but prophecy is also encouraging people. So through prophecy, through encouraging words, that's another way that God speaks to you. A lot of times, and this is less common, what's less common is you'll get like just a random thought in your mind. When I say less common, like it does happen, but it's not happening all day long. So just one random thought in your mind, it could be like one word. And that word will have one or two sentences worth of meaning for you, but you'll just get one word in your head out of nowhere. Poof, one word. So earlier when I got saved, I heard in my head one word, wilderness. I was like, wilderness. And I understood God wants me to go into a wilderness and separate myself from people for a time. So I understood that, but I only heard in my head one word. And it wasn't like I didn't hear anything audibly, it was just one word in my head. So sometimes I'll hear like one word and it'll be like one day I woke up and like God told me to go bring some money to someone. And I was like literally like in the bed and I was like, no, I don't want to do that right now. But then I couldn't even sleep until I got up and drove down the street and handed money to someone. And so I got up, I drove down the street, I found the person, I found a person exactly where God was like, go over here and go give that person some money. And I was like, what? And I was newly saved, so I was really questioning, especially when it came to money. I was like, what? So I, took my $100 and I drove down the street. And guys, when I gave that man that money, it had me in tears because I prayed for him and it was like, I can't put words out about it. I can't describe it. I just know it was a blessing to me. It was a blessing to him, but he needed hope. And when I saw that he needed hope that day and God used me to give him hope, it blessed me. I just can't put it into words, but there's something about like, it blessed me. I'll just leave it at that. Sometimes that's what God will do. Sometimes like, there was one day that I had something in my house that I shouldn't have had in my house. It was, it's a longer story. I won't tell it today, but, I had when I got married, I had, it looks like a rosary because, I got married in the Catholic Church. Long story, long story. So they put like over your head, they put something that's like a rosary, but it goes over your head and it goes over your partner's head and all these things, some ritual stuff that they do. Okay, so I had that rosary still in the house. And I woke up one day and like God had been using church and Bible study and different things to like talk to me about that item that maybe it's time to let that item go. But I hadn't made a final decision about letting the item go. And the day that I needed to let that item go, God put it on my heart that I need to throw it away. And it was another weird thing. Like I was sleeping and I was like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. I went to go lay back down and God was like, no, do it right now. So it wasn't like God said those words, but I just felt this like, that's how you know God's talking to you. Like, he won't leave you alone until you do it. He won't like, you won't feel peace until you just do it. Whatever it was that he wanted you to do, you won't feel peace till you do it. And it's always going to be biblical, godly, and those kinds of things. He's never going to have you do something that's not in the Bible. That's the only protection you have from the enemy is knowing the Bible. That's why I go back to that. So I took the item and I went to go. I'll tell you the story about it later. Maybe I'll tell you about it in a few minutes if the chat dries up. But God will talk to you through people in your mind. And on very rare occasions, I've never had this, but someone has told me that they heard God audibly. So AI Bible Testament and me, we used to be in the same church group. And the leader said he heard God audibly once. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. I mean, I believe the guy, but I've never heard God audibly ever. But I believe that God can do whatever he wants. So I've not heard him audibly, but I'll let you know if it ever happens. I don't feel like I need to hear him audibly either. So it's not something that I pray for or anything. I don't feel like I feel like I have God. So I don't pray for that. But if I hear him, you guys will know about it most likely. Most likely. Unless it's something that he doesn't want me to share, then maybe I won't share it. But yeah, you've had an interaction with God when he puts something on your heart to do, and it's not in your nature to do it, but it's biblical to do it. So me giving money to a man, that was in my nature to do, but right when I'm sleeping, not in my nature. If I'm sleeping, I'm sleeping. Don't bother me. So he put it on my heart to do it at a time that was inconvenient to me. That wasn't out of my own head that I'm thinking to do that. And I don't think the devil won any awards because I gave a man money and prayed for him. So, yeah. But so God won that day. It's biblical to give to the poor. I gave to the poor. I prayed for him. He felt hope. You know, it was a meaningful exchange and God got the glory, right? So that's how you know the interactions from God because you heard in your head or you felt it in your heart to do something. You had a pull to do something. The pull that you have to do something makes sense and is biblical. So let's say here's one that's not biblical and it happens all the time. It's when someone is still legally married, but they're trying to date. So like you're like, oh my gosh, this person's married, but legally they're still married, but I feel like God's told me that's my person. That's him. That's my person. So this is where deception starts. So we have to remember that the marriage is a covenant. And the Bible also says we should give a certificate of divorce if we're getting divorced. We should give a certificate of divorce, right? So it's biblical that a person should be properly separated, that you give their certificate of divorce and you go on about your business. So if somebody's still in covenant, they're still in covenant. So if someone's like, oh, I love her and he loves me and we love each other, but somebody's still married, then that is deception from the enemy and God has nothing to do with that. So God can't have anything to do with that. It's sin. But in your flesh, it seems like right. It seems good. It's a good idea in your flesh because you look at the person, you think, oh, I'm attracted. You look at the person, you think, oh, they seem so nice. They may even seem godly. You may seem godly, but the enemy comes to deceive, and God is part of the covenant. So yeah, that's not your husband, especially if they're still married to somebody else. So you see how it works. If you get a feeling like that's my husband, but or that's my wife, and the person's single, that actually could be God telling you that. But if you get a message that, oh, that's your husband or that's your wife, and the person's already married to someone, that can't be God telling you because God's in the covenant. So you can't be telling someone to come against his covenant. So that's where knowing the Bible helps to confirm that you're on the right track with how you feel or on the wrong track. If it goes against the Bible or against the nature of God, it's probably not God. If it matches the Bible, it matches the nature of God and it glorifies God, it's more likely God. Or it could be in your flesh, but it's still good to do. Yeah. Hopefully that helps. What is the Bible? What about the Bible? Let's see. I feel like I missed the first part of the question, Tommy. Ooh, wow. Someone says, how do you know someone is for you? How do you know someone's for you? Pray for discernment, but I can't discern between my voice and God's or the enemy's. How do you know someone is for you? The best way of knowing somebody is for you is first, it sounds like you are a Christian. It sounds like you pray. It sounds like you have a relationship with God. So that's good. It's hard to know anything if you are not first connected to your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, right? It's hard to know anything if you don't start with God. And the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God, and then all things will be added unto you. So you can't start with relationship first if you don't have a relationship with the one who created you. We know good because he's good to us. We can only do good because he powers us to do good. Otherwise, we act wild. That's just how it is. So, what I would say is, how do you know someone is for you? You know it because A, you know God, and so you know what good is. God is the standard of good. And so when someone is loves God the way you love God, then you're on track right there. Because if they can love God the way you love God, that's the first step to them being able to love anyone else. If they cannot love God who created them, perfect, holy, righteous God who created them, perfect God who died for them before we say yes to him, if we cannot love God who's perfect, when we get in relationship with a person who is imperfect and broken and sinful, it will fall apart fast. Oftentimes, it will fall apart fast because it takes a relationship with God to bring out the best version of yourself. It takes knowing that you're forgiven by God to even be able to get in relationship with a broken person and forgive them. It takes that first. Without that, there's nothing. So that's step one. Step one in knowing if someone is for you is first having a strong relationship with God and being in your word. Because if you pray and you're in your word, if something is going to go wrong, I promise you, God's going to warn you. And I can attest for that. I can attest every single time I've dated after I got saved, God has given me warnings when I was about to be in trouble. He's warned me every single time. If somebody was going to bring me into sin or try to destroy my relationship with God or have me just in some kind of way in trouble or tortured, God warned me about each person before I got anywhere near them. And then I got it confirmed through the relationship. So your relationship with God is so important for that reason too. It's protection against the people who are going to trick you. All right, now that we got that out of the way. So now you've got your relationship with God. Now you know that they have a relationship with God. That's a good start. The next thing you need to know is someone for you is, are they attracted to you? Let's be practical wisdom. If they're not attracted to you or you're not attracted to them, it's nothing. That's number one. It's nothing. It's nothing. Even if they're godly, even if you're godly, even if you have the same ministry, same mission, same everything, it doesn't matter. If you don't look at them when they walk past and they don't look at you when you walk past, it's nothing. I don't think God's going to give you someone that you're not at all attracted to. I don't think he's going to do that. So you have to be physically attracted at the end of the day, because at some point two are supposed to become one flesh. So if you're not physically attracted, you're not going to want to, build the kingdom of God, if you know what I mean. So you need to be attracted. That's one. But also, I think the next thing is to, if you know your mission, if you know what you're supposed to do, like if God's called you to do something, I don't know, everybody doesn't have their mission because, some people are like 20 and they're just starting out and they don't have their mission yet from God. They don't have their calling. They don't know what they're doing. If you have your mission, that's another good place to start. Let's say your mission is to, I don't know, open a nonprofit to feed the homeless. Maybe that's your mission. If that's your mission, whoever is in the kingdom of God with you, whoever you're trying to date, if that's the mission that God gave you, it's not the mission that's from your flesh, not the mission, but what God has put on your heart to do that he wants you doing. If God's put like a ministry on your heart for you to do, whoever you bring alongside you, they don't need to do the same thing specifically, but it should fit. If you're trying to feed the homeless and they don't have like the heart of love for strangers and things, or maybe maybe they don't want to do it every day with you, but they don't have a heart for the poor. Maybe they've got a hardened heart toward the poor. Maybe they don't even care about people who have not who are out on the street. Maybe they are rude and they're ugly to those people. I know I've dated a few people that I was like, what? Gotta get rid of you. You're mean. So if you are attracted to a girl and she's got a relationship with God, supposedly, and then you take her out and you know you've got this mission from God to feed the homeless, and you are walking down the street with her and you walk past a homeless person and they say something to her and she snaps and she yells at them and cusses them out. You know that. Sometimes it happens with people. You see that behavior and then you think to yourself, but God's given me this mission to feed the homeless. And look at her natural fruit, her natural reaction to someone who has less than her is contempt. Even if she's pretty, even if she says she loves God, which I don't think she loves God in this case, but if she says she loves God, if she's pretty, if she loves you, if things seem to be working well, that is not your wife. Because if your mission is to feed the homeless and she has contempt for the poor, she doesn't fit in your life. She doesn't fit in the life that God has planned for you. So God's plan for your life is more important. It trumps our little personal desires here. God's plan trumps it. So whatever God's given you, she's got to fit into it. You roll her into it. Maybe she's got an active role, maybe she doesn't, but she at least is at peace with your mission in a way that she can still, in some kind of way, love you, help, encourage, nurture. Now, if you don't have a mission yet, then you can just not think about that part. You can just erase that for now. For instance, I have a mission from God, so it makes my selection even harder. So my person's got to fit into my mission. If they're going to be all wild in the streets and stuff, like always in their flesh, then I'm going to have a bunch of PR issues to clean up. Oh, yeah. Oh, Hannah's husband out there on the streets with a different prostitute every night. I'm going to have a big old mess to clean up. So that wouldn't work too well. You see what I'm saying? So if the mission is not there, then you're just, first you think she's pretty. Okay. You're going out, you see that she's got a relationship with God. You do too. Good. Now, do you have similar right now? Would you say that you have similar surrender level to Christ? That's helpful so that you can stay on your path towards Jesus. If she says she loves God, but she is, barely covered and trying to get you to hop in bed with her, all the time, the question becomes the fruit looks a little different. You date her at your own risk because now God cannot be saying that that's your wife and then she's acting all kind of crazy if you live a surrendered life. So if you live a very surrendered life, I don't think God's going to present you with a wife who doesn't live a surrendered life, because that's a wife who's wild. When you as a man live surrendered, can you bring her along and help shape her? Yes. Ultimately, she's got to do it for God. If she just does the change for you, it won't stick. Ultimately, you can encourage her in the word, spread the gospel, do all these things. But ultimately, it's a very risky situation to bring her toward you if she doesn't already have a decent relationship with God. So if you're very surrendered and she's still very wild, you got to pray for yourself. There could be a huge testimony in it, of course, and God will get the glory, but it's risky for you, because if she's really wild, then is the God of her life God, or is it the devil? You see what I'm saying? And this is practical wisdom. This is what I've experienced when I've dated a lot, which made me not want to date anymore. I'm like, oh, no, it's too much of that. So if she's in the world really hard, but calling herself Christian, essentially she will try to pull you away from the love of God. She'll try to pull you into her things and get you distracted. And it's a spirit working inside of her that actually wants to still kill and destroy you. It wants to take you to hell. That's what the spirit inside of her wants to do. So you have to be careful, especially as a man, because men are visual creatures. I want to be honest about that, and I know that. And there's nothing wrong that y'all are visual, but because you're visual, you have to make sure that the fruit of the spirit is living inside of that beautiful girl, because she could be beautiful on the outside and host a bunch of devils on the inside who will those same devils will use her body to tempt you, to reel you in. Once she gets the ring, the same devils inside of her are going to be trying to destroy you by taking all your money and destroying your heart and your spirit and leaving you feeling like a rag doll. It's the same spirit that seduces you, is the same spirit that will come take everything back away from you. That's the same thing. We use seduction that way. We're using it like witchcraft. I'm keeping it real with you, and I'm not going to act like I haven't done that in the past, because I have. I have. So I would know. Be careful about the woman who seduces you, because she A, knows what she's doing, and B, she probably has a different agenda, and it's not just physical. It's not just physical. It's usually she wants something and she thinks, if I do this, I'm going to get that. That is witchcraft, actually. I'm going to do this. I'm going to sneak and get that. I'm going to do this for that. That's witchcraft, actually. So that means that spirit is operating freely in her, even if she calls herself Christian. This happens all the time. So this is why I encourage men in depending on God to walk you, to push you towards self-control, because it's usually through sexual immorality that you guys get tricked. And we know how to do it. And yes, we do it intentionally. We straight up do it intentionally. I can tell you I've done it a bunch of times intentionally, so I absolutely know. Okay, I haven't always been saved. It's the truth, though. It's still the truth. So if you want to be armored up against that, that will reveal itself if you wait it out and you're in prayer. Because now I'm on the side of it now, where I see men operating in that same spirit. And as I see men doing that, the only thing that's protected me is my purity. It protected it. Because God shows me the spirit that's operating in them. And then I wait a little while, I get it confirmed, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And then I need to move on. So your discernment, you're going to be able to know your person because you know God. And when you're dating them, they're also, if you have a value system that loves God, they should have a value system that loves God. If you have a desire to like really honor God with everything, then I'm hoping that you're looking for someone who has that spirit in them, even though they're very beautiful. I know you're going to want a pretty girl, but on the inside, that has to be working in them. If she's trying to be very transactional, I'm already concerned. If she's, I'm already concerned if she's trying to be transactional. If she's trying to give this and get that, I'm already concerned. Now, if you can keep the relationship pure, righteous, holy, you know what I'm saying? If you can try to keep the relationship like that, evil will show its head quickly. When I say quickly, within 90 days, at least on my end, with men, with me, it's been within 90 days and usually within 45. Usually you can discern what spirit is operating in a person within 3 months. That's 90 days tops. Usually sooner than that. The more you're walking with God, the more you stay. Like what I'm saying is pray before you go on dates. I would pray before I go on dates. I would pray for God, keep me obedient. I want to stay in your perfect will. I don't want to fall just because I'm trying to go find a husband. Like I would pray that before I go out because I had no desire to fall. And God, give me wisdom, give me discernment. You know, help me exit bad situations. Pray before you go on dates. That should always happen. And then, and you're not praying, is this my wife? You're not just pray for like, you know, discernment and keep your eye on Christ, even though you're dating. Just that. Later on, you're going to know because it should be, it should honestly be kind of easy in terms of when you get to meet them, it feels like even if you're opposites, it fits. Like two pieces of a puzzle that fit together, even if you're opposite. So maybe she's quiet and you're chatty, but together it fits. Or if you're both like very mission driven, that fits. Does that make sense? So the practical side of it is it should just fit. It should fit, meaning like if you are the kind of person who needs a lot of encouragement, then maybe the way she interacts with you, maybe she's an uplifting type. Maybe the way she speaks to you, it's usually very encouraging. So that's and it fits. Maybe you need that and she offers that. That's a way that she's becoming a helper actually, because maybe you've had a hard life and you need words of encouragement, and she naturally, God has built her to do that. Does that make sense? Not everybody does that actually. Some people like they may think it but they don't actually say it. So, but you would probably need someone who actually verbalizes things. So maybe in some cases, like what's a good fit for you is somebody who's like soft and a good communicator. You know, for other people, they're very like they have big vision and they need someone who's like very detail oriented. Maybe they're like big picture type of guy, but they need somebody who can hop in there and help them like build out the model, like all the specs. You know, there are women who like love event planning and love little, like, love all the little things. These are women who, if you say, I have this big idea, as soon as you say it and you give them the vision, they get their notebook and they start like mapping stuff out and drawing it. Like, that's me. I start like drawing all these pictures and stuff. I'm like, what do you think about this? So, depending on what your mission is, you see how you could see that's what I think is a good fit. Now, personally, I'm not big on the soulmates thing. Some people believe in soulmates. I'm not big on that. Now, what I would say is I've seen God tell certain people that a certain person is their wife. And I believe, like, me and AI Bible Testament, we came from a church where the pastor was like, hey, you know, I had audible voice. God told me this is my wife. And then I met her. And I believe him. 100% believe him. Now, does that audible voice happen often? No. But this person became a pastor, you know, so would God maybe speak that to him? Perhaps, because if God's got this big plan for him in the kingdom of God, then maybe God has set aside a godly wife specifically for that mission because that's part of the mission. I personally, I'm not of the school of thought that that has to happen for everyone. So I think probably there are 3 or 4 good people for every guy, good, perfectly good women that you could settle down with and have a good, happy, glorious life with. So I don't think just one is the one and that's it, right? I think probably 2 or 3 women in your life will be the perfect fit for you. So you just need to pray, you know, pray about it, but pray before you get to the milestone of exclusively dating. Pray before you go on dates. Just not is she the one, but like just pray that you stay obedient to God, that you stay connected to Him, that you have good discernment, just that strength over you, because dating is also like fair game. Like things can go off in that process. You know, you can fall away from God in that process. So you want to pray for strength to stay the course, and that even if you do fall off, that like that you can quickly get back on course. I think you'll have overall, I think you'll have peace about it. I think once you know like your mission, what you're supposed to do, it makes it selection a little bit more, you'll understand better if someone's not a fit. Like I dated someone who wanted to do work out of the country. He wanted to do like missions out of the country, and then God gave me a completely different mission that has nothing to do with that. I as soon as he said his mission, I knew he wasn't my man. I was like, this is not my mission. Like that, it's not compatible with mine. It's not that I needed to necessarily be doing that or him doing this, but I knew it wasn't compatible. I knew it was not compatible. I knew he wasn't my person. Just like that. Just like that, I was done with it. Does that make sense? So if you have a mission, you can easily exclude people. And then when you decide out of who's left in your circle of options, then you're just praying and you're asking God and asking him, does it seem like this is okay? God allows us to pick who we want, but you're just asking, does it seem okay? Like, does the Spirit of God work in them? You just discernment that, like, is this person operating out of a godly spirit that they could actually be a good godly wife and add to what I'm doing in my life and in ministry and add to a family that we'll build together. As long as you feel peace about it, and peace feels like peace. Here is I'm going to try to tell you experiences where I didn't have peace to help you understand what peace is. Peace is, it's for me, it's not an audible word in your head. Peace is, you know how peace is like quietness from God. You don't feel worried or concerned majorly. Everybody's got like a little bit of concern, but I'm talking about pit in your stomach. Like, should I, you know how those nights you're gonna get into trouble? Like, I know somebody's gonna feel me on this. You know those nights where something just tells you, stay home tonight, don't go out. Don't do that tonight. And then you're like, meh, I'm gonna go. But that thing happened where something said, no, you shouldn't go out tonight. Stay home. And then you overrule that first thing, that first intuition thing. That's if you get something that says that questions it, but it's in the pit. It's not on the surface of your tongue, but it's in the pit of your soul. Like something about. You ever met somebody you didn't trust? And you're like, I don't have a specific thing I got to point to say, no, I don't trust that person. But you just know. It's like that. It's the same feeling. Like, I went out with someone and to they claim to know God. But what I remember is like always feeling pressured. That's what I felt. I'm gonna describe this was not it, and I that's what I remember feeling in the beginning. As I remember feeling pressured, and I remember feeling like they were everything was like urgent and rushing me, and I was thinking, why is this so urgent, and why do you need to rush me? That's what I remember feeling. And I remember that feeling off. And it felt off like in the pit, like that. But then I was like, I overruled it and I went anyway. But I felt that feeling. And then what I felt again, I'm trying to feel like what later happened. And this was God telling me, no, this is not your person, move on. And it was like little micro things happening that I kept getting back to that, like, this isn't good. Like, that's how I would describe where there is a pull and it's not your person. And it's in the pit of your chest where it's not like you don't have peace over it, but you have a concern and it's like a valid concern. So does that make sense? Like I had a concern. I had a feeling. I'm like, why are you rushing me? Why are you pressuring me so much? And it was in the pit. It wasn't like on the surface of my mind or on the surface of my tongue. It was in the pit of my chest. Why are you rushing me? Why are you making me feel like all this is so urgent? This was a warning because the devil wants you to make a quick decision, not a thoughtful one sometimes. Sometimes the devil wants to like in urgency, almost like one of those phishing emails. Click here, otherwise you're going to run out of time. The devil wants those kind of moves rather than the patience kind of a move. So I felt those things, and that wasn't my person. Then later, I felt like I God gave me a sense of deception over that person. I felt the sense of deception, and I was like, okay, but I didn't have anything tangible to prove it. But God had given me a sense of deception. Like this person, I felt a sense of deception. I was like, okay, but I stuck with it, and then I watched the person have micro lies with other people. And honestly, I don't like liars. So when I saw the little micro lies, at first I was like, why would you lie about that? That's stupid to lie about. But then I just saw it was a pattern of comfort with deceiving. Do you see that? And then eventually I witnessed him lie to me and I was like, okay, good, done. But I had already had the first feeling that I had that was, I could have just stuck with that. And so that's what I'm learning. I'm learning that that's another way to hear from God, that God's speaking to me this way. And I just needed to test it all the way through. But now that I know that, I'm not going to play around anymore with it. I'm just going to, when I get that pit feeling, I'm going to go with what God says. But yeah, I think if you will get a reason, you will get a concerned feeling in your chest. Maybe it's non-specific, maybe you don't have evidence, but you still have a concerned feeling. That concerned feeling might be very specific about a specific something. That concerned feeling is the probably it's going to end up being the pattern that God's saying no. Every time I had the concerned feeling, and if I go to like multiple different guys where that happened, where I got to a moment where I had a concerned feeling, and then I just like brushed it off. A couple of months later, another concerned feeling would come, and this is the Holy Spirit saying no, move on. That's actually what the Holy Spirit's saying. No, that's not your person. Move on. And there's danger there usually. That concern actually is danger there, and God is trying to protect you because you have to remember we can forget who we are. I am God's daughter. Like it doesn't even matter if you don't even have a dad. Like if you're a lady, you are God's daughter. If you are a man, you are God's son. Do you know what I'm saying? It's easy to forget that in the day-to-day life, but when you remember that you are God's child, trust me, he's going to warn. He's going to warn. He warns with that pit in the stomach feeling, that pit in the chest feeling. Even if you don't have a specific reason yet, it's because he warns before the events. He always does it. He does it. This is why you have to be in your word and in your prayer time. And that pit feeling will come back again. It'll resurface. For me, I would say that pit feeling will come the longer the relationship, that pit feeling will come every 3 to 4 months. God will continue to send warnings out. He is sending warnings out because we're his kids and he knows who the enemy is working through. He knows that already. So when he sees somebody's got a pretty outer shell, but on the outer shell it's pretty, on the inner shell it's rotten, on the inside it's all rotten. God sees that and he immediately knows and he gives us that warning. And then when we don't heed it, he gives us that warning again. And here's where we lose our protection. When we cross over and become one flesh with them, when we cross over and we fornicate, that's where we lose the ability to hear God as well. I promise you it's true because once you fornicate, everything gets jumbled up. And that's the devil confusing everything. God is still speaking, but then the devil's noise is louder. It's gaining traction. So God is still trying to warn, but you hear it less and you feel more confused because you mixed it all up. That became an open door. You mixed it all up. And then when God's trying to warn, you're so confused, you're so wrapped up, you're so entangled, you can't really hear. And God's still trying to warn, but it's like far away now. That's actually what happens. Because I've maintained my abstinence, thank you to the grace of God I have, because I've been able to do that. Now what happens is I hear the warning. Even in my rebellious behavior, I keep the person for a while because I'm just trying to make sure that that's really God. Let's make sure that's God. But then he always confirms and confirms. And then after the third one, I'm like, oh, wait, let me get out of here. So now that I know how God is speaking to me in those matters, I'm not going to keep trying 2 and 3 things in order to get there. Now I've done that a couple of times. I'm like, okay, that's how God's working. I can pull out as soon as I'm like, this isn't right. I can just pull out. So you're going to have peace with the person who's your person. It's going to fit together. Even if you don't have to be exactly alike. You could be opposites, but the opposites are going to be like puzzle pieces that seem to match. So if you're quiet, she's noisy. If you're noisy, maybe she's quiet. But whatever it is, if you have a weakness with detail, she's detail oriented. You know, if you like your giftings match, it makes sense. When I say match, it doesn't have to be the same thing. Like you don't have to be a painter and she's a painter. Maybe you are a person who brings the vision and then she paints. You know, maybe she paints and you like to put the glitter on top. Does that make sense? Like it should be where it seems like it fits. And ultimately, you know, ultimately, if you don't have that pit feeling and you've tested their spirit to make sure they are from God, you've handled it honorably and you trying not to fall in sin and stuff like that, because sin will only confuse you. God will forgive you, by the way. He totally forgives you, but it confuses your decision. Try not to fall into sexual sin if you're trying to get serious and marry, because the only thing that happened to me when I fell into sexual sin is the people I should have got rid of. I should have got rid of them within 90 days. But guess what? Instead, I was already entangled and I kept them for 2 years and 4 years and all these crazy things. It only makes you keep a wrong person too long because you got a soul tie and all. So you're keeping wrong people. After you know that's not your person, you're still keeping them because, oh, well, you know, well, maybe it'll work out. Maybe it'll fix. But God's not even in that. It's just sin. So try to stay out of sin so that you can hear God clearly, because it's good for you. It's good for your decision making. And then you'll make a decision that's out of a godly posture versus out of a fleshly posture. And this is why Satan wants you to fall into sin, because he knows once he gets you to fornicate, your mind is a little bit off and decision making is a little bit off. And it's easier to deceive you because at the end of the day, you're seeing pretty, you want the body, and it's easier to deceive you. Now it's kind of like when somebody dopes you up in order to, you know, assault you. Basically, the fornication is like you got doped up now. So now it's easier to take from you or deceive you or trick you because you're attached. I got you wrapped around my little finger kind of thing. That's actually what women are doing. And it happens a lot. Mostly happens. Women aren't going to admit that. Of course, they're not going to admit that, but that is what's happening. Is they're using the sex to get something else. They may not want the sex as much. They may want something else far more, and they've got their eye on it, and they're using the sex to try to obtain it. So it is wicked, actually. It's, believe it or not, it's wicked. Imagine she laid down with you and she didn't want to lay down with you. She wanted something else. That's wicked. Maybe she just wanted a baby, but she didn't really want you. She just wanted the baby. This is why some girls, they get the baby and they run off because they didn't ever want you. They just wanted the sperm. You guys see what I'm saying? There's a lot of different reasons. I've seen these things. The woman goes, has the baby, and then she runs off with another woman instead. It happens because she never wanted you. She looked at it, the opportunistic mindset. This actually happens. So the easiest protection is to honor God with everything and start with God and then do. And then if you mess up, it's okay. You go back to God in repentance. God knows you're in a human body and you saw a pretty girl. He knows. He gets it. Go to God in repentance. That means turn away from your sin and run back to him. Turning away from your sin and trying to, like, depending on him, and then putting some barriers up with practical wisdom to not go back to the sin. So will you fall again? Perhaps you might again, but you're trying to barricade from where you may fall, and you're trying to pray your way through that so that you're strengthened in the area of your weakness. You're just trying to go back and start again, pick up and start again. If you've already fallen with that person, God may not say, get rid of them. He may say, stop that, or think about whether it's time to move on and settle down, or stop that and move on and move on without them. He may say that. So this is where prayer comes in. But yeah, if you have peace over the situation, You're living godly. She's living godly. You got the fruit of the spirit. She's got the fruit of the spirit. You know, you know your mission. You know, she at least even if she doesn't know hers, it's okay. She can fit into your mission seamlessly, even if she's not heading it. Just maybe she just participates sometimes, or maybe she just doesn't despise what you do. You know, even if she's not overly excited, maybe she doesn't despise it. Maybe she's willing to like help you out at home, planning some things, organizing, answering phones. You know, if it seems like she could be a good helper, and that's ultimately what you're looking for, is a woman who is nurturing and a helper, a woman who you could see as a forever, a woman who you could see as if you're at the age of childbearing, you know, then somebody you could see as the mother of your children. That's a good barometer right there. If you see that you don't see that she would be able to get there in terms of nurturing a child, then I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? If she doesn't seem like she would want to, because God wants marriage for holiness. He wants to grow you in holiness, and he also wants to build the kingdom of God too. So if she's like, you know, really few main things negative about, like if you want her to stay home and she wants to be boss babe, it's not a fit. You know, if you want her to stay home, then do you have the funds to help her to stay home? You know, that you have to work those things out. So a few practical things, you know, both loving Jesus, can be on board with like potentially the same church, you know, finding a church together, raising children in a similar way, households, you know, values being similar. Like I started off in the beginning, like if there's going to be a third party situation, how are we going to handle third party situations? If you perceive I'm someone I'm dealing with as a risk, you know, I'm going to do what? You're going to tell me, I'm going to honor you and fix that situation. You're not going to overuse and I'm not going to disrespect, and vice versa. Household, who's coming in the household, how often. It's just agreeing on finance, how to spend money on what, you know, bank accounts, one bank account, two, a couple of major things, debt, liabilities, you know, you might need to talk about that in some cases. If you're both 20, then you probably just both broke. You know, there's that too. But yeah, I would say that. I mean, if you're, as long as you can get a roof over your heads and put her in the house and she can be happy and be happy in that place and be respectful and submissive, you're good to go. But just pray about it, because just pray about it. Pray about it and try to stay out of sin so you can hear God clearly, and so that you're not deceived by the enemy, because the enemy will start with sex and he'll end someplace else every time. He'll start with sex and then end with gimme, 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 gimme all your stuff, you know, or start with sex and then trap you some kind of way into some legal payments for lots of long times. Lots of things can happen that way. But yeah, hopefully I got it. But that was a good question. Start at the bottom here. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. Um, oof. Yeah, women sin too. I thought I was clear about that. Women do all kinds of crazy stuff. They're trying to deceive y'all. Mm, 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 mm. All right, guys. I think I've gone through a lot of them. Okay, someone asked the question. Thank you, Giant, for the super chat. Someone asked the question, what if your age difference is 20 years? I think it depends on how old you are right now. Here's a perfect example. If the difference is 20 years, it can always start well. I don't think it's a big deal in the beginning. If you're the man, I'm assuming you're the man and she's the woman, and you're the one who's 20 years older, I'm assuming. If it's the woman who's 20 years older, just move on. That's not even culturally something that's going to work out well for you. Because typically when a woman gets sick, the man is not around anymore. So it's not going to work out well. Just move on. Man being older than the woman, I think here's what you have to do, because a lot of men like younger women. That's a reality. You have to be extra careful with testing the spirit of that person. I don't think it's wrong to date somebody 20 years younger than you. It's risky. It's not wrong. I don't even think it's disgusting. I just think it's risky. Here's the risk. The risk is a woman who's 20 years younger than you. It's a completely different generation. So it's likely that she's been wired with feminism. And that means if you're looking for someone who's a little bit more traditional, then you're going to run up against some difficulty with the way she thinks at some point, even if not right now. At some point, probably you will, because the culture is going to tell her that you don't have to listen to your husband. You don't have to respect your husband. The culture will want to emasculate you. And if she buys into the culture, which is simply 2025's fruit, then she will come back to the house being fussy that way. And it'll put a strain on the marriage. The most realistic risk is, with that much difference, she's not participating in the relationship the same way. So you may feel like it may end up being financially very advantageous for her, let's be honest, but that's you taking on a lot of risk. You may say, well, I've got the money. Okay, check. You may say, well, that's still my personal preference. Okay, well, check. If you're willing to take on the financial risk, here's the downside. If you're 40 now, let's say you're 50 and she's 30. If you're 50 now and she's 30, and let's say you give a good 15 years, now you are 65. When she's 45 and she decides that she can do better, or let me take half and I can just find someone else, realize that you'll be 65 and out there on the dating thing again at 65. That's difficult. And you've gotten used to, also remember, you've gotten used to the feel of a woman who's 20 years younger than you. And you have a good, strong memory of a woman who's 20 years younger than you. And at 65, it's going to be hard at 65 to get another 45-year-old, if that makes any sense. So chances are better at 65, you're going to more easily attract someone who's 55 at best, but probably not 50 and probably not 45, because your options are limited too, right? So what you don't want is you don't want that lady to leave you as soon as you start getting old. This is what typically happens. You spend all this money, get them all good and raised. They, learn the ways of this world, and then they get socialized with feminism and wanting to be more independent, and your husband's so controlling and blah, 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 blah. Behind your back with the girlfriends, they're emasculating men. And she begins to take on those thoughts as her own. And eventually, where it hits you is she thinks she can do better without you, or that she doesn't need you. If she suddenly stops needing you when you get sick, or when you get to an age where it's hard to get back out there and start again, then you're at risk for aging, and aging without help, which is complicated. So I think it's extremely risky, but it happens a lot where people are 40 and they're dating 20-year-olds. It happens enough that it's normalized, right? So can you date someone at 40, date a 20-year-old? Yes, you can. Are you dating them casually or seriously? I don't know. If you're dating them casually, that's not biblical, but you can do it. If you're dating them seriously, my worry is that she's still growing. She's still mentally growing, and she's so much younger than you. She's going to grow and evolve and change, and you're not still like changing a whole lot, you know? You're not changing a whole lot, but she's still changing quite a bit. And she's influenced by the culture of 2025, which is a wild and wicked culture. So, I think you can do it, but the risk is that she only wants your money. And then the other risk is she'll play the role for a long time and get married and take it. And the worst risk is that she takes it, or that she just leaves right when you need her most. So for that reason, it's probably to date within a 10-year range, because it's a little less risky, because you might be getting older, but she's getting older too. And within the generation, there's still some alignment, even though she may know about, I don't know, Billy Idol. I don't know his name. And the other person might know about, I don't know. I don't know all the people. I don't pay attention to pop culture anymore. But you guys know what I'm saying. Just be careful, because like I know somebody who like tends to date younger people, but he ended up like not getting married because he keeps going for younger women, but then it doesn't get to the finish line. He keeps going for younger women, but he doesn't like, he's not going for younger women for marriage. He's going for younger women because it's pretty eye candy, but then some kind of way he never makes it to the marriage. He never makes it to the end of the thing. So you got to be careful, because if you have a thing for younger women, get a younger one, but get one maybe 10 years younger, because you gotta worry about the generational gap in terms of like that. You gotta worry about like when she thinks she's so pretty and cute, but then you're feeling like you're getting old, and all her friends are telling her, oh, girl, you're too cute. You're too cute. You can get yourself a good guy. You can get yourself a young guy. You can do better than him. Ugh, he's getting old. Like, they will program her that way. They will program her mind. The devil will use her friends. But see, a more mature woman knows better. She knows better. I don't tell my friends my business. A more mature woman is like, even if my friends offer some unsolicited opinion, blocked. We don't need to hear that. Like, I'm keeping my husband. He's good. I love him. He's awesome. You're just jealous. You're just jealous and you want me to be single again. No. You need a certain level of maturity so that she doesn't take you for granted. So you can do 20 years difference. If you're going to do 20 years difference, I would suggest you at least try to date a culture where that's the norm and that divorce is not the norm. And if you're able to, stay within the confines of the location of that culture. Because if you go across the water and you get a woman who's used to 20 years being the average difference, that's great. That means she's wired to know that an older man is fine. That's great. She's going to appreciate all of the provisions that you make for her. That's great. But when you bring her here to America, the culture is contaminated with women who lie, deceive, cheat, sneak, or, emasculate men, take their stuff and head for the hills. You know, bringing her into America, if you get her someplace else, is like bringing her into Sodom and Gomorrah. It is contaminated in that way here. So when she makes American friends, even if her culture is to marry a guy older, when you bring her into this culture, you can't control that she's going to have all these friends who are wired with feminism. So a young girl is very impressionable. A 20-year-old woman is very impressionable. A 30-year-old woman is becoming more of a steady state. And a 40-year-old woman is not going to be played with. A 40-year-old woman, you can't convince her to get rid of her man. She's not going anywhere. It doesn't even matter. Like, no. She's already been through it. She's like, nope, I'm not leaving this perfectly good man. He's good. I'm keeping him. So I don't know your actual age, but I would say 20 years difference is risky for them changing and leaving you high and dry when you need a wife. They will change and leave and also leave and take your money and leave you high and dry with less money when you need it most, when you're retired. So if you're going to marry somebody 20 years younger, better get a prenup. I mean, a good one. I mean, a good prenup. Yeah, you better have something in there that if after she won't get enough money until after so many X, Y, and Z a number of years kind of prenup. She better not get much money until blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it better be a good one. It better be a good one. And if she's caught cheating or if there's any evidence of her cheating, she gets zilch or however they can make it where it's close to zilch. Like, make it where if she defiles the marital bed, that she is the loser because 20 years difference, they are highly at risk for adultery and running off with a younger said man and spending your money. So I would say practical wisdom is do not do it without a prenup and do not do it without like a reasonable pastor signing off on it because sometimes you need a third party. There's a multitude of wisdom at good counsel. Sometimes you need counsel to be able to look over that girl and be like, I smell Jezebel. Sometimes you just want that. So it can be done. All that said, I don't want to take your hope away. It can be done. I mean, if you would have married me as soon as I got out of high school, I would have blown it. I can tell you that. And I'm a great girl now, but I'd have blown that. I'd have blown it completely. I would have blown it. I wouldn't have cheated, but I would have been feminized. I would have been feminized, that's for sure. Let me look and see here. That was a good question, though. Thank you for the super chat. Just be careful, but I'm rooting for you for sure. I mean, this is the other thing. I mean, if you want kids, you're going to have to find one that's young enough to reproduce, though. So that's a deal. That's a whole thing. That doesn't go away. So, all right, guys. I'm not sleepy yet, but I need to try to go to sleep just because. I'm surprised you guys. You guys must be off work tomorrow for Thanksgiving, or today, I would say, for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Trump third term. What do you say? I don't think Trump's going to get a third term. I don't think there's a snowball chance that he's getting a third term. Nope. He's not going to get a third term. Now, if he does, it's because they figured something out, right? But it's because they figured out how to manually do it, right? And I don't know all the details around how that's supposed to happen with electing a different, I don't know how that's going to work. I'm sure Steve Bannon knows how to do it, but I don't know the details of how that's going to be done. But I don't think that people are going to want to vote him in for the third term. I just don't think. I think the last few months have been pretty bumpy. But, let's see. Yeah, let's see how it goes at the end. Jenna, your wife went to high school? Okay. Okay, let's figure this out. Roddy, Roddy, I'm trying to figure out like I'm trying to figure out how would I know? How would I know? She couldn't have graduated with me. Okay, put the name of the high school in the chat, Rody. Then I'll know you're being for real. Then I'll know. I mean, it could be true. That's crazy. Well, tell her I said hi. Tell her I said hello. What high school is it, Rody? And tell her to come on. Tell her to come on and say hello. Oh, I guess she doesn't have her own YouTube. Y'all might be watching it together. Mexico's in the house. Hello, Angel. That's crazy if she's in the chat though. Let me know. Let me know. Oh no. User IC1 would sub only if I was white. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't help you with that. All right, let's see. Well, tell Jenna to be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications because I want to see her on. I've tried to. Maybe I'll go look at my old yearbook. I'll go look at my old yearbook and see if I can find her. You got me thinking though. Let me try to remember your name though. It's something Rody or Roddy. Big body Roddy. The name sounds a little familiar. Oh, I gotta go look that face up. I gotta know. I gotta know. Do, 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 do. All right, guys. All right, guys. Well, tell Jenna I said hello, and I'm gonna go look in my yearbook and see if I see her. But I don't think we graduated the same year. I don't think we graduated the same year. She might have been like 1 year before me or 1 year after me. But tell her I said what's up. Come on, Greg. I love that. Okay, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Y'all, I will try to go live again. I don't know when. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. Maybe that's a question mark. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Maybe tomorrow night. Question mark, question mark, question mark. But everybody, be sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. Be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to turn on your notifications so that when I go live, you'll get a little pop up that says, hey, she's live. Because I don't think a lot of people go live anymore on YouTube. I think they just upload a video and go away. It's more fun over here. So come on back home with me. Okay, everybody. I'll check you guys out next time. Again, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification. Turn on the notification when you hop off. Okay, everybody? Bye, everybody. Bye, guys. Tell me where you guys are watching from as you say bye. Let me know. Let me know where you guys are leaving from. Greg's a saint. Where you guys watching from? I saw Mexico in the house tonight. Did I get a New York? Did I get a New Zealand? Did I get England tonight? I see Knoxville. Okay, Knoxville. Fulton County. Look, what's going on? in Fulton County. Jesus loves you guys. South Africa's in the house. Let's go. Southern California in the house again. Rancho Cucamongo. All right, cool, cool. Atlanta's in the house here. That's me. I was just curious where you guys are watching from tonight. New York City. Thank goodness. You guys have been coming in again. Y'all left me hanging for like 2 weeks and it hurt my feelings. Y'all are back. Thank you. Thank you, New York City. I see a good old Great Britain in the house. You don't speak much Spanish, do I? I speak enough Spanish to be dangerous. Don't say anything bad about me in Spanish. Brooklyn. Come on, Brooklyn. Let's go, Brooklyn. Uzbekistan. Scotland, Colorado. Okay. We have a very whole group here. Everybody's in the house. Any other states in here? Most of y'all are like half asleep. I know. I'm just here for your entertainment. Most of y'all are half asleep. Turkey! Turkey's in the house. Yay! Welcome from Turkey. It's snowing. Oh my gosh. Snowing in Colorado. Oh my goodness. I'm loving my weather right now. I've been outside every day. I don't know that flag, Kelly. Turkey. I see Turkey. I'm in Atlanta. I'm from New Orleans, though. I just wanted to see who all was in the chat tonight. I always love seeing you guys in the chat to see where y'all are from. It's 3 a.m. in Atlanta, 3:01 a.m. Yeah, I'm not sleepy, but I gotta go to bed. Tulsa, Oklahoma in the house. 3 a.m. Okay, gotcha. All right, guys. Hopping off. I just wanted to see where y'all are watching from. It's always fun. I didn't ask y'all what time it was where you were, but it's all good. It's because I'm sleepy. Okay, guys. I will catch you guys. Be sure to turn on Indonesia. Hi. It's 1:02 a.m. in Colorado. Okay, cool. You're from, you said I'm from your heart. That's cute. Okay, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next couple of days. I might go live tomorrow. If I do, it probably will be late. It'll probably be at night, but I might go live tomorrow. So turn on your notifications just in case. 10 a.m. South Africa. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. It's 10 a.m. someplace. It's 10 a.m. It's like sunny someplace, and it's like dark over here. I am speaking with my real voice. Tell AI Bible Testament. He knows how my real voice sounds. It's 10:03 in Hawaii. You got to work today? Okay, cool. All right, well, cool. You want to go to America? Aw. I don't know if you're missing much in America. At least you're able to see us this way. This is like 2025. You can see America through YouTube. You don't have to actually spend the money and be here. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, guys. Oklahoma. I'm not from Oklahoma. I'm from New Orleans. Sydney, Australia in the house. Let's go. One of these days I'm going to have to go do a road tour. And based on the number of people that say they're from one place, if it was like 500 people from one place, that's probably the place I'll go to. Pakistan in the house. Pakistan. All right, guys. Y'all turn on the notifications. Don't forget. Sub and make sure you've notified and make sure you've liked if you haven't already so that you don't miss when I go live again. Oh, you're Creole? Oh, yay! My New Orleanians in the house. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. GEAUX. Go Tigers. Okay, everybody. All right, just want to say that. Bye, everybody. Talk to y'all soon. Bye, everybody.